I think it's time to get started.
I hope not. Got work to get done. Next 3 days are gonna fly by.
Okay. Thank you all for being here this evening. We appreciate it. And thank you to those that are watching online. We always appreciate the participation in our council meetings. So as we get started this evening, Dan, how do you say your? Manjak. I figured as soon as I say it, I'm going to say it wrong, and I should know better. Anyway, Dan is the pastor at Good News Church, and he is going to open us in prayer, and then we're going to follow with the Pledge of Allegiance. Dan, thank you.
Let us bow our heads, our hearts before the Lord. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come before you, Lord, right now. And like your word says in Psalm 127, unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. We pray, Lord, tonight that that would not be true about the city of Nampa, that all of us, Lord, would first look to you in all of our businesses, Lord, and in all of our activities, in every aspect of our lives, Lord. We pray a blessing, Lord, upon every person in this city, from the mayor all the way to every citizen, Lord. We pray for the city council, Lord, for every city employee, for the public safety people, Lord, just everybody, staff and everybody. We just pray a blessing, Lord, upon them, Lord. We pray that righteousness would be exalted in our city. We pray, Lord, that your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so we just pray, Lord, it's a busy schedule tonight. We just pray that you would just allow us, Lord, to work through that and to come at decisions that bless every member of our city, Lord. We thank you for all that you do. Guide us and lead us in every way. We love you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And let's do our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Pastor Dan, thank you. Pastor Dan pastors a church in North Nampa and has a heart to make a difference there. Thank you for your service. It's greatly appreciated. Let's open with roll call.
Rodriguez,
Here.
Bruner,
Here.
Hogaboom,
Present.
Levi,
Present.
Haverfield,
Here.
Skog.
Here.
Madam Mayor, I got to be a goofball at the start. So, Councilman Skog, do we not call him Colonel anymore, or what? He's
Oh,
there's been a big change there. So anyway, I just want to make sure we have the right guy at that seat today. So okay, I'll try not to be the goofball the rest of the time. But that's been with you how many years?
About 10 years.
Goatee, yeah.
wow.
Not Colonel Sanders for a little while here. Okay. Okay. Sorry.
You noticed. Oh. So are there any proposed amendments to our agenda this evening from council? I don't have any that I know of. Okay. So I would stand for a motion to approve the consent agenda as noted.
So moved.
Second.
Darrell. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
So this is the section in the agenda where we have proclamations, and there is a lot going on in the month of May. So as we step into proclamations, I would like to mention that this week is Municipal Clerks Week. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Important. And so I'd like to personally thank Debbie Rosen, our clerk, and your entire office for the work that you do. I think what Amy was writing down, that over the past 4 months, our clerk's office has processed an average of 810 passwords each month. Thank you. Better get that right. It's still a lot So thank you for all you do, you and your team. It's also Teacher Appreciation Week, as well as National Small Business Week. It's also, I believe, Public Works Week is coming up later in May. Okay, so other proclamations. May 18th is Kids to Park Day. May 12th through the 18th is National, I got to read it like Amy wrote it, right? It's the Nampa Bike Walk Week, and the Mayor's Bike Ride is Monday night, the 13th. If anyone would like to join us, we're leaving from Lloyd Square at 6 p.m. And it's a 1-hour, family-friendly ride to experience Nampa's new routes and projects. And Larita is here. I'm not seeing you at the moment. There you are. Larita, thank you for all you do. Thank you for organizing it. It's greatly appreciated. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you. May is Mental Health Month, and we do have a proclamation this evening on mental health. And so Heather Taylor is here, and I'm doing it a little differently, Council, because we have 4 proclamations. We are not fully reading each proclamation this evening, but we are noting that it is Mental Health Month for the month of May, and Heather is the Program Manager of Behavioral Health Division in the Department of Health and Welfare. Heather, come up and speak for just a minute and share with us about what you do.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I first want to say, if you're anxious or depressed, you're not alone. We hear all kinds of numbers, but we know that millions of Americans suffer from mental health problems, and maybe that's you or someone that you love. Stay with me a little while here. I'm going to tell you a short story about someone who lives right in your community who went through this and has turned the corner and made their life something meaningful. I want to tell you about Jess. Like many people struggling with depression and anxiety, her story is one of depression, trauma, sadness, and drug use. Her depression started young. When she was just 13 years old, she didn't know it at the time. Like so many people, her mental illness was hidden. No girl starts off thinking she'll have a mental illness. If your brain gets sick, we all know you're likely to be avoided. Jess grew up watching her parents drinking, and they always seemed to be having fun and were happy. Maybe she thought that would be the key to making herself happy. She started drinking, and soon school became a problem. She got kicked out at 16, and she was ashamed. Her parents got upset with her. She ran away from them. She was struggling with depression and didn't see it. She just knew that she felt bad, didn't like herself, and wanted to feel better. She tried to connect with people, and it didn't go well. She was raped, abused, and the only escape she could find was drugs to keep the depression and anxiety at bay. Methamphetamine came into the picture when she was 16, and by age 17, she was pregnant. She was soon tangled in the legal system. When she was offered the option of a court program that made the lofty promise of helping her learn to manage her symptoms and to help her quit using drugs, she took it. Mental health court helped her understand that depression is treatable. With the help of her instructors, she learned about herself and how to start getting involved in the community from a positive approach. For the first time in her life, Jess felt she was on the road to hope and sanity. She learned to call someone when she needed help and to be honest with her doctor about what was going on. She figured out that you not only have to have a support system, but you need to know how and when to use it. As Jess says, when the devil in your head starts talking. By having her depression under control, it's easier to reach out. She found some gems right here in our community. Hope's Door, who offers women support in dealing with trauma and drug use. Judge Petty, who recognizes the small victories. And the staff at Region 3, who truly understand what it takes to help her feel like life is worth living. Jess has been planning for life after she graduates from mental health court next year. She's going to Alcoholics Anonymous to find support, and she knows that medication will help her keep the depression under control. She understands that life challenges will always be there, and there are new ways to handle those challenges. Finally, Jess is able to say that she likes herself, and in looking back, she realized she never liked herself before. Now she understands that taking care of her mental illness is what will keep her on track. She is now a contributing member of our community. We are really the greatest nation on earth, the United States of America. We're united, and together, let's look at what we can do to make our community better. Like Jess, be the inspiration for someone who needs it. Thank you.
Heather, here's your proclamation. Thank you so much for what you do and for making a difference and for sharing with us. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. So the month of May is designated National Bike Month. And here to speak to us this evening is Loretta. And she's going to share a little bit of information because it is Nampa Bike Walk Week coming up the 12th through the 18th. Thank you. Were you planning on speaking?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I'd read the proclamation.
Would you like to?
Okay.
I'll give it to you to read. And thank you so much.
Okay, whereas May 18th, 2019 is, oh, this is the kids' parks to,
Oh, you know what? It is, and it's, sorry.
am I out of order?
No, I am. And I realize when you read it, it says I, Debbie Kling, proclaim it, so you can just say not I. We'll get it. This is not the way we normally do it. Did I hand you the right one?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Whereas the month of May is designated National Bike Month by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the Center for Disease Control, and the League of American Bicyclists to promote bicycling and walking as a means of transportation, recreation, and exercise. And whereas bicycling and walking provide numerous benefits to our citizens' health, including lowering obesity rates, risks of disease, and increased physical and mental fitness. And whereas bicycling and walking provide a boost to our local economy by reducing transportation and traffic congestion costs for our citizens. And whereas 50% of our daily trips are less than 3 miles from home, but 70% of those trips are made by the car. And whereas bicycling and walking can replace driving for short trips, helping our city meet the requirements of the Federal Clean Air Act, the CDC guidelines for weekly physical activity, and reduce traffic congestion in our growing city. We encourage all citizens to participate by leaving their cars at home and bicycling or walking whenever possible. We have activities planned throughout the week, and as Mayor Kling mentioned, Monday night especially, I'd like to bring to your attention, Mayor and Council, we'd like to invite you to join us on the Mayor's Ride. We will be meeting at Lloyd Square for a 1-hour family-friendly ride. Don't let the lack of a bicycle, working bicycle, stop you from coming. Myself or Adam Haynes at Rolling H will be glad to provide you with transportation that night. So just contact us this week and we'll get you all fixed up. There's a ladies' road ride on Tuesday night, a ride of silence on Wednesday to commemorate those who've lost their lives bicycling. Walk to lunch on Thursday, Nampa Bicycle Project open house Thursday night. Bike and walk to work day, group rides on Saturday, and there'll be a bike and walk entry in Parade America on Saturday. So I have some flyers here, and I'll just give you one and you can pass them along.
Loretta, thank you so much. I'm sitting here, Kristen, I hope these are on my calendar, so we'll have to figure out, because I'd like to be at several of your things. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
want
much.
this back, or do I?
Nope, that's for you.
Okay.
Well, excuse
Thank you
me,
very much.
Mayor.
Yes.
Loretta, so the mayor's ride is Monday at what time?
Monday at 6 p.m.
At Lloyd Square?
Yes.
Okay.
Here's your-
I'm gonna ride Bruce's bike. We'll both ride together.
We did last time.
We did.
And I do need a
And
bike.
I forgot to mention that the purpose of this ride is so that you can see the things that you have approved over the past year. We'll take you on a ride. We're probably going to take a route to show you some of the signage that has been installed over the last year, the bike route signage and some of the bike lanes. And it gives you an opportunity to see up close what we're working on out there and to experience Nampa by bike. And also gives us an opportunity to have some really good conversations with you along the way. So we look forward to having that time with you.
Thank you.
Larita, thank you. Larita has a committee and a team of people that work with her, but I will have to say the power of one, because Larita is everywhere, working diligently. And I tell you what, our city is different, Larita, because of the work that you do. And I just want to say thank you very much. Thank you. So Darren, I'll let you come forward. And May 18th, 2019 is the 9th Kids to Park Day. And I'll let you share with us about that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. May 18th is National Kids to Park Day. It's the third Saturday nationwide. It's recognized as Kids to Parks Day. So what our city is doing, we're going to start a campaign of just notifying each of our community members about the importance of our parks, and then invite him to one of the city parks. And so we're going to feature this year Midway Park, which has our newest playground. And so we'll be inviting and trying to get as much participation for that as possible. And then we also recognize that not only city parks add value to health and well-being for kids, we recognize like the Wilson Fish Ponds, Deer Flat Wildlife Refuge in our community. We're very fortunate to have those take place here as well. And so we're looking forward to May 18th and celebrating National Kids to Parks Day.
Darren, thank you. Thank you so much. And then it is also, this month is the Building Safety Month. And as Patrick is going to come forward, Patrick, where are you? There you go. So as Patrick comes forward, I would like to mention that May is recognized as Building Safety Month by the Internal Code Council, and that NAMPA is proclaiming the same proclamation as the governor for the state of Idaho, and a proclamation being done in Boise. Patrick, thank you for raising the awareness of this proclamation.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, for the proclamation. If anybody wants to view the entire proclamation, it's going to be on our website, as well as all the information you need to know. This is the 39th Annual Building Safety Month. It started with, I believe, the BOCA codes, the Uniform Building Codes, and it's all the way up through the International Code Council now. There's 4 different weeks, 4 different themes, and you can check that out. We also have safety brochures on pool safety, mold prevention tips, disaster safety and preparedness. There's a kids building safety activity book. So there's lots of things to see and just raise awareness of building safety.
Patrick, thank you. And thank you to your team, and here's your proclamation, for all that you guys do in ensuring that we are a safe community when it comes to public safety in buildings. Thank you. Thank you. So I believe it's also, was it Hearing Month, I think, and we did a proclamation that is not here tonight because it is, the month of May is a Hearing Month, and then coming back May 19th through the 25th is Public Works Week. And the Public Works team has got a variety of activities. Our library has some great things going on for Public Works during that week, so just be watching our website and it'll all be there. So thank you to all the people that make this community happen. And these proclamations, even though they can seem routine or boring, it's actually really cool to raise the awareness of all the great stuff that's going on. So thank you. So this next section on our agenda is the opportunity where someone has the opportunity to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item. I think I would, Amy, thank you for bringing that forward. I think I'd like to start with the agenda items. Well, let's see what it looks like. So, let's see. Actually, I'm just going to go down the list from top to bottom. The first person that signed up was Tyler Resnick, and I'm not sure what, from Boise, is that person present? So, we have a name here. Is it Tyler Resnick, I believe? Okay. And then, how about John Frazier?
Oh, it's Joan Frazier.
Joan, excuse me, Joan.
Okay.
Thank you. So, did you want to speak on are you on an agenda or non-agenda item?
I came on a non-agenda item.
Okay.
But I think there's something on the agenda that might tie to it, but.
Okay, well, you're welcome to come speak for 3 minutes. Come on up and go ahead and repeat your name and your address for our clerk. She can make note of it, and thank you.
You're not done when you
No, we'll start when you get here.
It's Joan Frazier, 2016 Fifth Street South. And what I came to speak about, and it's up on the screen, is our beautiful train station. And in the newspaper, a couple weeks ago, it was reported that the train station needs $30,000 to stay open for the next year. About a week ago, it was reported that the recycling company gave us about $49,000, and Mayor Kling gave $20,000 for a truck for food, which is her right, because women spend the money, and that's okay. But the remaining is $29,000, which I think should go to the train station, with the understanding that then the next year, they raise money, and we match them dollar for dollar up to $15,000. That'd give them a total of $30,000, instead of having to, bail them out completely. The other thing I wanted to mention is in Seattle, they had a train that went from Renton to Issaquah to a winery, and they had a meal on the train. They even played games and stuff. Then you toured the winery, and as I understand it, the tracks are good at that train station. If we can find a place to go, and with a meal, they can really start making some money, and it'd be a good draw for the city. Also, in the Tri-Cities, in Washington, Tri-Cities had a train that went from Tri-Cities to Prosser, Washington, and again, there was a winery there. And we don't have to go to a winery, but just going somewhere, so they go for a ride. And I think it'd be great, because we need to get people interested in Nampa and make Nampa a place you really want to come. You'd not only have the people from Nampa riding that train, you'd have, the people that visit here. So we really need to support it. And I think since money was given for food in the north side, you've done that we ought to use this money for the train station. And this is where it gets iffy, okay? It was on the agenda about giving this money to Salvation Army. About a few months back, you guys gave them $7,000 to $14,000 for these women with children, place to live and all. And Salvation Army is wonderful for families, but they only help families. When I lost my job in Seattle and I was close to living on the street, I called them. They wouldn't help me. They said they only help families. So, but we still need to give to them because they do help those families. But I think our city's got to, for me anyway, come first. And that money you didn't plan on having, so we won't miss it. And that's all I had to say about that.
Thank you very much for sharing your ideas. It's appreciated.
You shouldn't say that, because then I just keep coming back.
No, it's appreciated. I will say that any fund, that this particular, if Salvation Army were to manage this money doesn't go to Salvation Army. Actually, they would just help us distribute it. So it would not be going to them. And then they help, they don't just help families, they help anyone. So
They
the
must
local
have changed
Salvation.
since when I lost my job in Seattle.
Yeah, the local Salvation Army is a great resource to anyone. So just thought I'd let you know. But
Well-
thank you.
Still, hold something back for the train station.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's a good idea. Okay, and next on the agenda is Margie Potter. Yeah,
I'm Margie Potter with the Salvation Army here in Nampa, and 1811 North Cobble Way is my address. A couple things that, first, I wanted to say we do help more than just families here in Nampa, and some core only, have services for certain demographics, but we help. Here in Nampa, we do help seniors, families, singles, anybody that needs help, we will help. And I guess I will say that I am in support totally of what Amy is going to talk about. That was just brought up, which I didn't think was going to be brought up yet. But I am in support of that, and I just wanted to let everybody know that. But what I am up here for is that I did not say anything about our proclamation, because I believe you did our proclamation last year for Salvation Army Week. I think we were the first one that you did as mayor. And so It's International Salvation Army Week, the May 13th through the 19th, and it always falls the day after Mother's Day, so it goes Monday through Sunday. And during that week, if anybody's interested in knowing the services that the Salvation Army has, and this goes for any time really, but especially during that week, anybody that's interested in having a tour or contacting me and finding out what services we have and what we do here in the community, I'd be more than happy to let you know all the services that we have. And I do have actually a flyer here that has many of our services on it. If anybody's interested in that, I'll leave them at the back there. So during that week, Jerry Hull, I don't know, some of you know who he is. He's going to be walking. Last year, he walked 80 miles for his 80th birthday to represent Salvation Army Week, and he wanted people to donate $8 or $80 or whatever they wanted for every mile that he walked, and he walked 80 miles, and this year he's turning 81, and he's going to walk 81 miles throughout the week. And on the last day, the 18th, he'll be walking 8.1 miles at the Nampa Recreation Center, and he'll start that in the morning at, he says, rain or shine, and boy, he's got quite the elaborate plan here. But I think it's from 8:30 to 11:30 in the morning. He wants people to walk with him, and he'll be wearing a red apron. He wants you to donate if you can. If not, he just wants you to show up, and there'll be a tent there and a kettle stand, and just come on out, and there'll be snacks there and for everybody.
Margie, what day was that?
The 18th, Saturday the 18th, same morning as the parade. So you have time to do both things, I think, because.
So 8:30 is when that
Is he
starts.
starting, yeah.
Okay.
And then in the evening, at 5 o'clock at the Salvation Army, we're having a Veterans Appreciation Dinner that's free. You just need to RSVP to me so we know how many people to prepare for. Olive Garden's actually supplying the food, so that's always a good deal. And we have a short program and a speaker. The gentleman that is from the Caldwell Memorial, he is the speaker that evening. So that starts at 5 o'clock, but if you would just call me, my number is 208-467-6586, extension 8, and RSVP that, and that's all I have. Thanks.
Margie, thank you. And I'm happy to do a proclamation, even though we won't read it here, if you want it for your website. That way you have it. Just let us know. I don't know if we've done one. Yeah, we're happy to. Okay. Thank you so much. Amy, I'm going to have Marcia. Marcia, we're going to have you come next, and then Amy will end with you. Marcia, thank you for sharing your address and your topic. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor Kling and Council. My name's Marcia Yappin, and I live at 1403 4th Street South in Nampa. So I want to invite everyone here to the spring show of the Nampa Art Guild. It'll be next week at the public library, following the same hours that the library's open. It only lasts for 1 week, so don't put it off. And this will be a good chance for people to go who have still not gone to the new public library. You know, I meet people, who still haven't been to see the library, so 2 birds with 1 stone here. I have some little flyers that I'm going to leave with Sandy. And there'll be some beautiful pictures, and we don't have any abstract art, I don't think. It's all pretty pictures. Kind of like maybe what you might see here on the walls. I think those were done by some early members of the Nampa Art Guild. So
Beautiful.
it's a great event, and I hope you'll all make it.
Marcia, thank you for bringing that to our awareness. So that's at the Nampa Library in the lobby area. Would that be correct? Yep. That's great. Thank you.
That's for everyone here.
Thank you so much. And the last person that is signed up is Amy Bowman. This is a little bit, I'm not having her stay the entire evening, so this is on an agenda item.
Hello, Mayor and Council, Amy Bowman. I live at 1623 West Orchard Avenue in Nampa. And as you know, I am a staff member, but I'm also a resident. And I've had the great privilege to hear a lot about our residents and the concerns they have over the raising utility bills, as I know you all have as well. And I actually just wanted to speak in support of the action item, I believe it's 5.5, in support of the Nampa Shares and Cares program and the allocated donation that you'll be discussing tonight. And part of why I wanted to speak tonight is because during the outreach for the sewer revenue bond, we had a number of conversations with residents who are in just really having a tough financial situation, and a lot of them on fixed incomes, seniors, single moms, maybe even those that are parents that have good income, but maybe they have a child with special needs, or they have medical issues, etc. And what I learned about this program is it's a wonderful way, or could be within our power, to continue to help residents that need additional assistance. And the program itself is actually specific to Nampa residents who receive water, sewer, trash. So it is an opportunity for us to use donated funds to support the community that's using those services. Additionally, our office receives multiple phone calls every month from citizens just very concerned about how they're going to pay their bills every month. And honestly, it's heartbreaking. It's hard, as staff, to continually hear them and say, I'm so sorry, and help them in any way that you can. As you know, at the next City Council, May 20th, it's a public hearing about another increase to the sewer, which is an increase of 16.75% if approved. And that is an opportunity for us to point people in a direction of a program that the city supports. And I just thought I would mention that, provide that feedback to you all, and I'll stand for questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have Amy. I think we're going to be way after late tonight by the time she would be speaking, so I had her come forward. So Amy, thank you so much.
You mean she's not going to stay like she usually does?
No, her children are waiting, so it's like, yeah, important. Is there anyone else that had intended to speak this evening? Seeing none, that will conclude that portion. This is an opportunity for mayor and council comments, and I'm not going to make any comments this evening. We've got a really long agenda. I don't know if there's any other thing from council members.
Mayor?
Councilman Levi.
Thank you. This last weekend, I had a great opportunity to volunteer with the Red Cross, and of course, the mayor was there and greeted us all, and it was a really great time. There were some homes that were identified in sections of towns that needed some assistance having smoke alarms put in their homes. And it was a great educational opportunity for me as well. And I want to pass this on to you because I was brought up that you were when the thinking was that you had a smoke alarm in the hallway and that was called good. But we learned that they now are asking that you have smoke alarms in each of the bedrooms, 12 to 18 inches from the doorway. And the other piece of information I'd like to pass on to you is you have 2 minutes or less to actually evacuate your house. And that means that you're waking up and being coherent enough to realize you have to get out of the house. The last thing they shared with us that I thought was very interesting also was that when you are asleep, your senses do not smell the smoke. And so it is so critical that you have the smoke alarms in your home. I hope I have all this right, Chief. Are we good? So anyway, they're really easy to install, and you can call the Red Cross. You can also call our fire department, and I understand our firemen will actually come out and install. Is that correct? Perfect. Great. So I just really want to encourage it. And then regarding one of the proclamations for the mental health, for many years I've been going to these alternative courts, the Veterans Court, the DUI Court, Drug Court, et cetera. And I just want to tell you that this is a wonderful program, and Chief Justice Eisman actually was instrumental in implementing them. And this is an opportunity for those that could go to jail to have a second chance, especially to our veterans, and I'm very passionate about that. It's a 12 to 18-month program they go through. They're held very accountable to some standards that they have to adhere to in order to graduate. And I get chills literally when I'm sitting there watching them graduate and they're sharing their stories. So if you ever have an opportunity to take part in one of those graduations over at the Canyon Caldwell Courthouse, it is really worth it. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Levi, thank you. That was really great information. Appreciate it. Are there any other council reports? Okay, seeing none. There are no agency or commission reports tonight. Let's move on to staff communications. The first one, 4.1 on the agenda, is the concept plan for the cemetery scattering garden. And here to speak to us is Ryan Lancaster. Ryan, thank you for being here this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here to address a change in burial practices that we're seeing, a conceptual design for a possible new avenue to provide a different service to our patrons, maybe something a little bit more cost effective. And so with this facility, it would have a scattering garden, also an ossuarium, which is kind of a new concept, especially for our area. And then also we have a partnership with David's Hope that would also incorporate with this facility and to help expand what we can offer to the patrons of Nampa. So I guess is there any questions I can field at this point in time?
Well, I have a question. So this is a design drawing in concept. So is this something that is in the budget to be done right away?
It is not. We are
Not,
still in the
okay.
conceptual stage to, we've reached out to different funeral chapels to see the support, to see if their families would possibly be something that they would be interested in. We've gotten very, very positive responses from our chapels saying this would be something that the citizens of Nampa could utilize. Like I said, it's new to this area. There's only one other cemetery in the area that has a scattering garden. That's Dry Creek over in Boise. And they are noticing that it didn't start to develop very well in the first years. They've had it for about 10 years. And then now they are noticing that it definitely taking off and being a beneficial asset.
My understanding is the number of cremations is actually increasing significantly, and that a lot of people are going this direction. And,
It is.
And that
It
is the motivation and the reason behind this?
We are noticing a definite decline in traditional burials. I've been at the cemetery since 1990. And so from that point in time, we've gone from, say, 200 services a year to maybe 100 services a year at this point in time, just because of the number of cremations. Over a 10-year span, we were looking at close to 1,500 traditional burials, or actually at that point in time it was 1,000, and now we're at half of that for traditional burial. So this would be something just to be able to add that service. We're still able to, provide a traditional burial and also cremation on grave sites or with our columbariums. We have 3 columbariums at this point in time, and they are being utilized. But we're looking at being able to offer a little bit more cost-effective way for families to be able to pay respects to their family members. This particular site would have different monuments located throughout that would have areas where we'd be able to engrave their names. So families would be able to come out and pay respects and have a nice, quiet, surreal environment that they would be able to reflect.
Thank you for the vision for how we can continue to serve our public.
Yes.
So do we have any questions at this time? Councilwoman Levi?
Thank you. Ryan, question for you, and this will be the permanent home also where the memorial?
It would be up in the top left-hand corner. It's kind of hard to see on that. It's in the northwest quadrant of that property. We do have a special area reserved for David's Hope. And we have had quite a few after we've had the media come through and do the interviews with the cemetery. I actually have had quite a few family members call me and say, is this something that we can do at this point in time? And unfortunately, we're not. The memorial that we have right now is just a temporary memorial, and we've expressed that. But this would be a permanent home for this and for our family members to be able to come out and to have that environment.
Mayor, may I follow up, please? Ryan, I'd also like to point out to the audience that we have a representative from David's Hope here tonight, Lynette Jackson with her daughter, I think Esther. And they were very instrumental in getting that monument out.
Thank you.
So at this point in time, this is just a conceptual design. We haven't budgeted for, total build on the project was estimated about $800,000. If we do a phase 1, which would, with this particular project, we have 5 ossuariums that were included. Phase 1 would have 1 ossuarium and then also a smaller scattering garden. It wouldn't be to the level of the full build. But we look at doing different phases with this, and it's a matter of support. We're still looking at getting public feedback council feedback on, is this something that we want to move forward with? Is this something that our community needs and would utilize? And so there are different partnerships that we're looking at to be able to see if we can get possible extra funding for this and just not totally out of the city's budget.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And so we have the opportunity as council to ask any further questions as we move into budget. And then if the citizens have any feedback and ideas, we would appreciate you reaching out to the city on this particular issue. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And thank you for your vision. Thank you for your service. It's appreciated.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, our next staff report is our finance department. Doug Racine, who's making his way out there. And then my guest, depending, we'll see, Tom, if we have time for one more staff update after Doug. We'll find out. I think we may. Thank you.
Got to get all the technical aspects set up correctly. Mayor, councilors, thank you very much for letting me spend a moment of your time. I wanted to take and share with you an update on the budget process, the accounting process and finances of the city so far. I've been here about 11 weeks, and I think it's time to share a little bit with you so you know what's actually going on. Okay. Turn it on the side. There we go. Perfect. So briefly, what is going on in the budgeting process? To start this process off, I needed to help other people understand how I arrived at a good number. But I needed to meet with all the directors initially, just to have a meeting to get familiar, to know people, to explain my philosophy on budgeting, my approach. I take a fact-based approach to budgeting. I try to minimize the guesses. I try to maximize the accuracy, and to do that, first off, is to meet with people and get to know them. Second, I met with numerous county taxing agency people from the Canyon County and from Meridian and other agencies to help understand how they develop their budgets and how they operated within the municipality parameters. And then I took the next step of something new, where I met with everybody again to annualize the current year financials. So I take FY19 actuals through the midpoint of the year, through June, or through March, which is 6 months. And then I expanded that to see what it would look like for an entire year. And then meeting with all the directors, we adjusted that up and down for things that either happened that won't replicate, or things like temporary summer labor that aren't in there yet. So we tried to get what I call a directionally correct annual number for FY19, based in part by the first 6 months of the year, and then estimating for the remaining 6 months. This annualized value will then be used to evaluate the 2020 budget. So we have a solid baseline to say, this is where we're going to end this year, and gives you something to compare to with next year's budget. That's a very critical step. That allows for verifiability, and it helps you create discussion points. If you see a number from the baseline of 19 changing in the 2020 budget, it's very clear to see something has changed. That'll prompt a question, what's going on, explanations follow, and that provides the clarity and the transparency of the budget process that you will come to appreciate from the approach that I take. Now, I've worked on building and getting my head around the various complex revenue streams, and I'll have a little more about that, but there's a lot of revenue and a lot of streams and a lot of timing. So let's go on to the next page. And I've heard from several of you who express concern and would like information on why there are budget variances from year to year. And in every organization I've worked at, I've had budget variances. It's almost impossible to eliminate them. And one of the real rationale is that we are taking the first 6 months of this year and using that to budget a year out. So we don't have all the actual information for this year. Let me give you a point. If you look at the second bullet point there, FY 2018, the final Canyon County property tax base for 2018 was published last month. So that was 2018's number. We're budgeting 2020. So there are people in there who will challenge their property tax assessment. That takes a process to go through. I won't have 2019's for a year. So we're going to have some degree of variance. And with the population growing and the valuations generally going up, we'll probably have some degree of favorable variances next year as we did this year. But it's impossible to know what that is exactly. Secondly, we will get the new construction values, will be published in June 3rd. So I have to then circle back and try to catch up on my budgets and make a few corrections to true up for that. And then we have the shared revenues from state and county. The AIC gives us guidance on most of those shared revenues, highway fees, sales taxes, liquor taxes, and so forth. But in looking at them, I find them to be generally conservative. They're publishing a value that a lot of people will rely on, and so they're not going to be too aggressive in their numbers. And by nature, accountants and finance are conservative. That's what we do. We don't try and over-promise and under-deliver. When looking at the property tax lift, I'm getting the value, some of the presentation information I give you gives more value than I'm sharing right now, primarily because it's just an estimate. So some of the publications I've given you have a little more data on that in terms of what we expect to have for the budget. But as I've talked about variances, let's go back, take it one step back into FY 18. The general fund was favorable $1.2 million, meaning we rolled into the reserve $1.2 million from FY 18 into FY 19. The causes of that were $774,000 of revenue, property tax revenue, shared tax revenue, and planning revenues from inspections and so forth. That flowed into our reserve, as well as a few expense savings opportunities, $432,000. Out of that, only about $160,000 was capital related, which would roll from year to year. But that value rolled into our general fund, and we have it for use now, and we'll talk more about the use of that in a moment with talking about the fixed asset or the First Interstate Bank building purchase. But I wanted to go over here and talk briefly to lay the groundwork for that for budget amendments. The budget amendments are typically only needed once a year. And doing a little research on this, because it was new to me, I found that they only need to be done once a year, typically at the end of the year, so you can do them all at once. However, in circumstances such as we're going to talk in a moment about the approving the purchase of the First Interstate Bank building, it's probably wise to do that budget amendment process simultaneous or slightly preceding that purchase to make sure we've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. But budget amendments generally have two originators. One, we rolled over funds from last year that we want to use again this year, or two, we're new spending not originally budgeted. Those are the general causes of the budget amendments. As mentioned, the significant variances like the First Interstate should be brought out as quickly as possible. I will at this time gather all of the known amendments that will be presented in June so we can hopefully do it just once. However, if we come to the end of the year and we find we need more, we can do another one in August if necessary. I'm hoping that's not the case. One other final item I wanted to share with you, one accounting practice that I'm changing that will help strengthen internal controls is to change the threshold of fixed asset accounting. In the city prior to my coming on board, only asset purchases greater than $40,000 were recorded as an asset on the ledgers. That was acceptable by the auditors, but it makes it difficult to track the assets if you don't record the assets on the books in a fixed asset system. The new Tyler system we has such a system. And in talking with both legal and in talking with our auditors, we verified that we can safely reduce that threshold to $10,000. I socialized this change with all the directors and department heads to make sure that everybody else was on board. This will add a minimal amount of work just to put the records in there and track them, but it will strengthen our internal controls and allow us to be a little more efficient in understanding what assets are on the books and where they come from. This is not a change in accounting policy, which would require us to restate financials. It is a change in threshold, which allows us to make the change and move forward with no having to look backwards on prior asset records. And that is my brief update. I just wanted to share some of this with you. Any questions from the council? Mayor?
I actually do have a question, and Doug, just to clarify, what we rolled into our reserves, is it likely that we have some unfinished projects that are going to roll over that will change that number
Well,
once we move forward?
Sure. Out of that $1.2 million, about $160,000 of that was for capital that would roll forward. So let's say you've got $1 million of new monies that were not designated for prior use, meaning they don't come with any strings attached. They were generated by additional revenues or cost savings, not related to any specific project.
So I think what I'm hearing is, while we say at this point that we have 1.2 million rolled over, we may, with the budget amendment, have some rollover
Yeah.
of something that carries over from 18 to 19 that was not included in the budget.
Yeah.
So that number will change, just as an FYI, that's not our final number.
No, well,
With the budget amendment coming up,
it's the final number for FY18, but how we use it in FY19 will affect the total number in the reserve.
right, because of the capital projects that would
Right.
roll over, and then we had a couple budgetary items that needed to roll over.
So that, in essence, those dollars help fund the budget
Correct.
amendments in 2019. They provide significant funding for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So it's about 3 minutes till 7. So I'm just thinking, do we want to go ahead and I don't know how long, what do you think, Tom? Okay, well, let's go ahead and that way we're done with staff updates, and then we'll move into new business after the public hearings. And Tom, thank you. And you don't have to be just 2 minutes, but.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So I'm going to start with the wastewater update. So it's been another quarter, and we promised we'd come back every quarter with an update on the construction at the plant. So we're on schedule and on budget on Phase 1, about 88% done with construction in Phase 1, and we're planning on being done by the end of the year. You have some photos in your packet of the digester being constructed and also the solid handlings building. We have 3 other things I just want to mention on the wastewater end here that are in your notes. We did submit the comments for the Waters of the U.S. That was something you authorized in the prior council meeting. Also, in our recycled water program, we should have a preliminary decision on our reuse permit by May of 19, so coming up here shortly. We'll have more to come on that. And then some really great news, things are rolling well at the wastewater plant. We actually got 3 awards here recently, one from EPA, another one from American Public Works Association Rocky Mountain chapter, and then the Idaho chapter of the American Council of Engineering Companies. So 3 of them, that's pretty good. So the team's doing a good job. And these were all based on best-in-class solution for meeting nutrient removal and water quality requirements. So that's pretty exciting stuff. So we do have one more quick one now, and the other one I wanted to mention was the bike and PED master plan. Just give you an update that's kicked off. We had an initial kickoff meeting with the Safe Routes to School, Compass, ITD, some internal folks. Jeff's going to show you real quickly the link to if somebody wants to go online and give us a comment about a bike and PED idea or location, they can do that on this application. And we're going to have a public open house this summer on the bike and ped plan, and then also in final the plan at the end of the fiscal year in 2019. So bike and ped's another very important part of our transportation network, and so we're excited to get this plan rolling. So this,
I would like to say congratulations on those awards. That's commendable, so good job.
thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's the team
You get
effort.
money off that at all? They pay-
No, we didn't get money off
No
it, no.
finances to put into the wastewater
We'll
plant?
keep working on that.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
Just quick, online, there's an online tool, you can get to it through the city's website. And this is where you can make notes about what you want for the bike and pedestrian master plan. So you can get on there and draw a line on where you think a path should go, or notes on where there's an area that we need a crossing. And so we had 60 people sign up or put notes on the first 2 days, so we should be getting a lot of feedback from the community.
So, Madam Mayor, Jeff, just a quick question, and Loretta maybe can answer this. So, and I have not been on there yet, so I apologize for that. But if there's an area where it looks like there may be a safety issue, is that also an area where we can speak to that on there? I just saw, it's fresh in my mind, 2 weeks ago, I just saw a kid take his bike into the Wilson Drain. So his mom was right behind him, but I know there's some areas where that'd be difficult for the mom to have jumped in quickly for him, so.
Yeah, Councilman Brunner, you can put a note on there, a certain location, and just say this is a safety issue that you recognized, and we'll
Okay.
take a look at it.
All right, thanks, appreciate it.
Great job, thank you. Thank you, is that the conclusion? Wow, that was fast, my goodness. Okay, so we have 4 public hearings this evening, and it is 7 PM and time for the public hearing portion of our city council meeting. The first public hearing this evening is item 6.1. And this is an action item. This is the vacation of the alley right-of-way in Block 179 of Kurtz Addition in Nampa, which is between vacated East Georgia Street on the north and East Hawaii Avenue on the south, in the northwest quarter of Section 34 T3N R2W within an RML Limited Multifamily Residential Zoning District in order to develop the site into a 70-unit senior affordable housing development. A sewer easement will be retained in the vacated alley for Sky Ridge Limited Partnership. Is the applicant present? Thank you for stating your name and address, and thank you for being here this evening.
You're welcome. My name is Brian Adelot. I'm in Meridian, 3846 North Arches Way, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I'm their attorney.
Thank you. So tell us about the project and
So the project, and I'm going to invite Doug Crowther up too, because he's responsible for the development, so he'll have maybe more details about the development itself. But the development is a 70-unit senior apartment development, and the reason we're requesting a vacation of this alley is because it runs right through where the development will be. And in particular, our investor and lender have requested that that alley be vacated because they're not comfortable with it running right through the middle of it.
Okay, that's
Excuse me,
simple.
Mayor.
Yes.
Brian, what was your last name again?
Adelot, A-Y-D-E-L-O-T-T-E.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you, because I did not get that right. Either. Brian, thank you. And then also representing this project, Doug.
Yeah,
So go ahead and give us, I know you've written it down here, but go ahead and give us your name and address.
yeah, it's Doug Crowther at 2901 North Fry Street in Boise, Idaho. I'm a member of Development Concepts, and I'm working for the owner of the property. Excuse me. It's a 70-unit development, as Brian said. It's a single story, and through there is the easement that ran through, and there was a previous vacation of the alley that did show up on title. However, when they went back into the record search, they could not produce the document. And so that is a part of the layer of this, was that when it showed up, it said it had already been vacated. But we went and found out, couldn't find the records, and so we are making the request to make it official so that it doesn't carry over in the future and cause any issue with it. So that's the real reason that this is going through on this one. it kind of sounds weird when you say, we want the alley vacated, but there is no alleyway there. And it has been dead-ended and all that stuff through.
Thank you. That's a very important piece of information. We appreciate that. Thank you. Staff report, Rodney. And then we will come back to you guys with any additional questions.
Mayor and Council, Rodney Ashby, Planning and Zoning, Principal Planner. As has been explained, the applicant is seeking a vacation of the alley right-of-way in order to construct single-story senior living apartments at 412 East Hawaii Avenue. I've placed the zoning map up on the screen there, and you can see where the alley is located. Also show a aerial view of that property. So nothing there right now, but as was stated, the alley dead ends on the north side there of this property. We had a project recently come for this project come before council to vacate the easements to either side of this parcel. Those roadway easements continued through to the east and west of this parcel. And at that time, we presented the Sky Ridge development. Tonight on the agenda is also a public hearing to modify the development agreement. And so I'll go into more details about the project at that time when we hold that public hearing. But this is strictly to vacate the right-of-way. The alley was originally proposed to be vacated in 1968 when the roadways to either side of the property were vacated. The ordinance excluded the vacation, however, of the alley, perhaps because of an existing 12-inch sewer line running down the alley. And so there is an easement on the property, or excuse me, on the alleyway, the right-of-way. And that might have been why it didn't get vacated at that time. The easement for the sewer line will remain on the property with this project, and no building will be constructed over the easement as proposed in the development agreement and on construction plans for the project. Conducting a public hearing and then vacating the right-of-way through a city ordinance meets the requirements for a street vacation according to state law. The ordinance for such vacation has been prepared by the city attorney for approval as a business item at tonight's meeting in order to help facilitate a quick turnaround for this project so that it can get started on their time frame. City Council has authority to vacate the street or require conditions of vacation as they see fit. This property appears to comply with zoning code conditions, the comprehensive plan, future land use map, and is consistent with the goals in the comprehensive plan for infill development. Staff recommends that if City Council approves the vacation of right-of-way, it be conditioned that the utility easement remain for the entire 20-foot width and the full length of the alleyway. In addition, staff recommends an additional condition be required to retain all storm drainage on site, or a land use change application be approved from Nampa and Meridian Irrigation District according to their memo in your packet. And stand for questions.
Mayor Kling.
Councilman Netherfield.
Excuse me, Rodney. This is an alley that is behind those homes. Is the alley being used for trash pickup purposes?
Look to Public Works. Do we know that? We don't know that.
Do you also know if it's used for fire engine access?
Fire chief, you can speak to that.
The alley itself is developed up till about the property north of that. So the fire department would have access there if they chose to. However, each of those buildings does have road frontage that would be more likely to be used.
So my concern is there a fire engine turnaround or a trash pickup turnaround at the end of that alley planned?
There is not currently, and there is not necessarily one planned.
Okay, so our approval of this without that condition would leave fire engine access. I mean, they're only going to go 60 feet. They're not going to go the full length of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lots. to get down clear to the end to potentially fight a fire on the alley side of those homes. So I guess that's my question. If our fire chief would like to come up and speak to that, he can certainly do that. But that would be my concern. And then trash pickup, trash truck would have to back all the way back out if it came down and that was part of their,
And that is what they would be currently doing if that's where they have their trash pickup.
okay. I just don't see the logic in that as being sound myself.
May I ask a question? Is that currently what they've been doing for all these years?
Correct.
Right, and how many years is this? Like,
The county, the vacation, as you can see, there are no property lines shown on that alley. The county has shown it vacated since probably 68, when the adjacent roadways were vacated. We didn't know there was, until they did their title search, we did not know that was not an already vacated alley.
so if I understand correctly, Councilman Haverfield, the trash and the fire currently, since 1968 or before, have not been able to go any further than this area. Am I missing something in your question?
Well, my question, even if it's a non-conforming condition at this point, it's still a requirement long-term that that alley would continue all the way down to Hawaii. With us now looking at vacating that, which is fine. My only concern is if fire engine access is still meant to go down that backside of those homes, the fire chief can speak to it, but there are specific requirements for a turnaround condition that maybe they're turning around on that property if they were to go down there at all. Maybe you've never had a call out there, so you'd have to worry about it.
Closer look at it, because I'm having a hard time, I'm pretty familiar with the city, and I'm just having a hard time seeing this thing, so if I could get closer to the map.
So it'd either be a T-turn or a cul-de-sac turnaround.
There is currently a fence at the end of the property.
Mhm.
And this is the
So, Madam Mayor, while we're talking, Councilman Haverfield, so my understanding though on the trash, you're talking about fire here, but on the trash, and the trash are going at that back, but they have been backing out for a
Right.
lot of years, so
Right. And that's usually
there's
the
not a
case.
need not a requirement for a turnaround for a
No.
garbage truck,
It'd be
correct?
more for the fire engine.
Okay, so you're okay with the garbage truck?
Yeah, I mean, if they're currently, that's been their practice for that area, that's all well and good, but my only concern is life safety.
And it looks like that whole half mile, Councilman, is same thing on Juniper and Locust as well as the alleyway. All those roads terminate right there at that spot. So right now, we are pulling down those roads, but
You don't pull down the alley, then you'd just pull down Locust or Juniper?
that's where we would pull down.
Okay.
The only reason we would go down the alley is probably for medical with the squad.
Okay, so you've answered my question. You wouldn't plan on using that for fire engine access? Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes the staff report, is that correct? Okay, so this is a public hearing this evening, and we only had one person signed up in support, and that was Doug, that already spoke. Is there anyone here that had intended to speak on this particular issue this evening? Okay, seeing none, then this is actually your opportunity, either Brian or Doug, to come back if you have any comments regarding the questions that have been asked, if you have anything else you'd like to share. You may just come back up to the microphone, and then, yeah, thank you.
Yes, I had made the one comment that there is a fence in place and all those other things are already blocked off ahead of time. I didn't know if you had any other questions in regards to the purpose of the alley and what.
Are you speaking to me?
Yes.
No, my concern was life safety, and if the fire department's planning on using that long-term, then we'd have to make a provision with a turnaround. But since that's not the case, and they can fight a fire in those structures off of the main streets, they can pull their fire hoses far enough to get to those houses, and we heard it from the chief, and that's what I needed.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
Doug, question for you, please. This doesn't specifically have to do exactly with the vacation, but I had a community member read through this agenda today, and they asked me a question, and I don't see them here tonight, but they might be listening. If not, I can at least tell them. When it says affordable housing, are we talking affordable or subsidized?
This is an affordable project. It's a LIHTC project,
What does that mean?
low-income tax credits. So they're working, this is actually a senior project for 55 and older, and so it's for low-income seniors.
Okay. And my follow-up question regarding the alley issue, and perhaps I wrote this down incorrectly, but I thought I had heard one of the two of you say this really hadn't been used as an alley, but it needed to be cleaned up for the title aspect. Did I misunderstand that?
On the subject property, there is no alley, there's nothing. There's been cows running on it
Okay,
over time. And as you can see on the picture, it dead ends right there.
okay.
There is no continuation of any roadway across the property.
Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you.
Are there, while this is a public hearing, are there any additional questions? Had you intended to testify and not gotten signed up? Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming forward. Please state your name and your address. There's a first time for everything, right?
My name's Wayne Ellis, and I got a relation that lives on South Juniper, and the one is right on the property line of what they're wanting to do. And David, when Dale was the mayor here, I came up and spoke, and they was very confident they closed the road, that the road would never be changed because of Colorado had apartments built before it all took effect. And they take out 50 feet of your front yard or 50 feet of your backyard for parking and vehicles. You're fighting a losing battle, especially for like my mother-in-law is 72 years old, and her husband passed away a year ago. And me and my wife have been taking care of her, and you know, I could understand it if we wouldn't have memories of the house while she's still alive, because she don't want to move. Because we bought it in 1977.
So could I ask you a question? Could you tell me, so what is your address? I forgot to ask you that.
Pardon?
Do you live in Nampa? What is your address? Could you, I'm going to have you scoot over just a little bit right there. Thank you so much. Okay, go ahead and say your name and address again so we can make sure we heard you. Go ahead.
Where can you,
Your name and your address.
okay,
Your,
Wayne Ellis.
Wayne Ellis, okay. And your address?
40 South Valley Drive, Napa, Idaho, 83686.
Thank you. So the property that you're referencing as we're in this public hearing, where are you located?
1229 would be right on the corner of the property line, and that's it right there.
1229 South Juniper. Okay, so it's on the north side of the property, so you're sitting right here at the end of that. Okay, perfect.
You could see with the distance, the vehicles that live in apartments with how they park. And the people that live on the street, across the street, they got more than one vehicle too, because of the families. That's all I have to say.
Okay. So your concern, if I understand you correctly, is the potential loss of any of your property. Is that correct? And so maybe we could answer that question from staff.
Well, you know,
And then the impact on parking? If this property sale would impact you and your parking?
yes,
Is that the question?
yes.
Okay. And so, and it's a very valid question. It would be good to provide an answer to that. So if we could answer that question. Do you have any other questions we could answer?
No, that's all I have right now.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. We'll try to get an answer right now to your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, the property under consideration will have access off of East Hawaii Avenue. So the proposal is to not have any access off of Juniper. It would be the dead end as you see it today, and really no impact to the property that he asked about.
Okay, and then as far as, it appears like that his property sits right there at the property line. What is anticipated at that property line? We have a certain amount of setback required, correct?
That's correct, we do. Let me see if I can grab the concept drawing that they submitted.
Okay, thank you. Or maybe if our applicant knows that off the top of your head, if, I don't know if that's a parking lot back there, or if you've got a structure backing up.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, is this the next public hearing, or is this actually for this public? I thought we
Well-
were doing it.
It kind of gets answered in the next one.
On the
It
next
does
one?
get answered,
Okay,
you're right,
okay.
and I appreciate that.
So it's a single-story structure, and there is a fence that borders up on that property line all the way around. And it'll be a new dog-ear cedar fence, plus there's also going to be trees in between the building and the adjacent properties. So,
Okay.
and they're spaced about every 30 feet. I don't know if we have a landscape plan that's in there. It's currently under review in the city.
So I hope that answers your question, that there is not going to be a change to your roadway. And you won't see any change to Juniper because it will not be opened. And thank you for the patience as we do this.
Oh, that's fine. No, for him, it's for his
Mhm,
sake.
it's important. Rodney, thank you.
Mayor, so just to clarify, the road access for this, how do you run this thing? Oh, there we go. The road access will be here. The parking will be in here. These are proposed landscaping around the edges here. This is the edge of the building here, and somewhere in this vicinity is where that property would be.
Thank you very much. Okay. So I think we have an answer. Doug, do you mind if we might have you go ahead and finish? Okay, thank you. Okay, I hope you got the answer to your question, and what we'll do is, at the conclusion of this hearing, if you guys would like to visit, you're welcome to, at the conclusion. So hopefully you've got the answer to your question, but I'll let you guys visit about it after we're done, if that's okay. Okay, so is there anyone else here that had intended to testify this evening on this particular issue? Okay, seeing none. Council, do you have any questions for the applicant as part of the public hearing process? Okay, with that, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I would stand for a motion on this.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the vacation of the 20-foot by 340 section of alley right-of-way with the conditions set forth by city staff.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Vogelbaum,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
The second public hearing is an action item, and this is the modification of the zoning development agreement between Moon Lake Consulting LLC and the City of Nampa that was recorded on November 6, 2017 as instrument number 2001-048306, modifying the conceptual site and building plans to accommodate a senior apartment living on a single-story arrangement for a 2.978 acre portion of the northwest quarter of Section 34 T3N R2WBM for Joe Pressure, representing Douglas Peterson at Sky Ridge LP. And would like to hear from the applicant on this one.
So, thank you for hearing our application. The reason for this request is that when the original development agreement was entered, there were different plans for the development than there are now. Now it's a single-story senior housing development, and in section 1 of the old development agreement, or the current development agreement, it says the project shall be developed in substantial conformance with the conceptual plans attached here to as Exhibit B. So when we were reviewing title, our lender and investor requested that this be modified to conform with the current plans.
Go ahead.
So that's the reason for the request today, is simply to, or principally to replace the plans that are attached as Exhibit B to reflect the current plan, which again is a single-story senior development, whereas before it was a two-story. I'm not sure if it was senior then or not. Oh, it was family. And then also, we have a different party. Moonlight Consulting is a semi-related party to Skyridge Limited Partnership. They're the ones that started the development, and then Skyridge is the limited partnership which they've created to close and own the development. But, so the proposed modified development agreement substitutes Skyridge Limited Partnership for Moonlight Consulting in the agreement, because they're the current owner of the property.
Thank you. Staff report.
Mayor and Council, Rodney Ashby, Principal Planner. I put up a couple of elevations, just concept elevations for the change there. As has been stated, it would go from a multifamily development agreement for a multifamily two-story buildings to the single-story senior housing. It is in the RML zoning. Nampa Planning and Zoning recommended approval of the development agreement modification on conditions that the development follow all applicable city requirements and obtain appropriate permits. There is limited guidance in state code for criteria regarding development agreements. As such, council has a relatively large amount of freedom to place conditions on the development in a development agreement. The comprehensive plan serves as an important guide, though, for approving development agreements, and as such, the comprehensive plan strongly encourages infill development, with which the proposed project appears to fit. The comp plan also encourages diversification of housing stock in the community to meet the needs of growing segments of our population. It appears that going from two-story to single-story senior housing is consistent with this goal in the plan. The applicant has requested that the amended and restated development agreement be approved for signature as shown in the staff report, and that an ordinance approving the agreement be placed on the business item agenda at tonight's meeting for approval under suspension of rules. Staff and legal counsel find this request appropriate and have prepared the ordinance appearing on the agenda tonight. A single condition of approval is listed in the staff report and includes adherence to the development agreement modification and drawings submitted by the applicant and in the council's packet. I'd stand for questions.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
Rodney, I'm going to revisit the question I asked on the earlier application. It appears to me now that locust and juniper will be needed as far as for fire engine access to be able to suppress a fire on the backside of these buildings, in that a fire engine, if it were to come into the parking lot proposed in between these structures, I'm just, again, I go back to Chief Carpenter. Have you had a chance to review these concepts, or will you now review those to determine if locust needs to have a T-turn or, pardon?
Yes, at the end of it?
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind, I don't know where in the process the plans have been approved, is it just the proposal at this point?
This is just the development agreement modification.
Okay. So, my,
Chief, we'll have you come forward if you speak. I'm sorry. We need to have you come forward if there's a question.
I was too looking at the plan proposal and agree at the backside of that building that we would need to take a look and let our plan plan reviewers inspect for if that needs that hammerhead or a turnaround at the end of
Well, this would not be on their property that they're developing. It would be on the frontage or the end of those two streets as they come down and now abut property without extension through to Hawaii.
Right.
So being able to suppress a fire with your apparatus, again, I'm asking you from a standpoint of life safety, has their architect or their designer met your satisfaction on being able to do that?
So the only concern I would have is that corner that you're addressing, is there's no parking lot access to what I'm.
It would be both
the
streets.
the northwest, right?
There's two streets that come down and abut this parcel. Both of them would be public access and would be open to your apparatus to be able to come down. So I'm just wondering now, are you going to need some sort of a turnaround? Or are you going to be backing back up? You wouldn't be concerned?
Go ahead and put that on the record with the laser pointer. Can you? Yeah, we can do that. Perfect, thank you.
So if we're asking for a development agreement, is this something that we need to make sure that it's on our conditions of approval?
So I wouldn't have any concern, because obviously the hammerhead would be, there's already existing homes where the hammerhead would be on the, that's not on this property, right? We have a fence line that's going down the back, is what I'm understanding, correct? So this actually is the only area of concern that I would have, because there is no access to that portion of the, and truthfully, so this is actually the only one that I have. Go ahead. But for access to the facility itself, we would still come in off of Hawaii and tactically fight fire from what we would say the front side of the building.
Yeah.
Those would be further.
You'd have to go clear around the building to get to the backside unit.
Right.
So that's my only concern for your safety, being able to get back there to suppress a fire.
So the area that Chief Carpenter was talking about of concern would be in this area. There is a public alley that runs along there that they would be able to take access over to that side.
Yeah. So that would have been my only area of concern.
So Locust come downs is going to dead end right now. I don't have a pointer.
Right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you would need a turnaround at that point?
No, if this is truly open,
Then you can get over to the building?
correct.
Okay.
That-
As long as you're convinced that you have the capability of for life safety purposes,
As
then.
I was looking back, or as I was watching, is this the Elmo? Yeah. This was the only area of concern that I had, is just the non-access, but if they're saying there's full access on this side of the property.
Then you can take care of it.
Yep.
So the northeast corner is not a problem for you then
No,
either?
not with this section open here.
Uh-huh.
I don't have any concern with that, with this specific facility at all, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm trying to think at the moment where we are in this process. So this is a public hearing, and that concluded our staff report. So this is a public hearing, and I don't have anyone signed up in support of or against. But again, is there anyone here that had intended to speak on this project this evening that did not sign up? And then to this gentleman, I'm trusting your questions have been answered? Did you get answers to your questions? Possibly?
Mr. Ellis.
Mr. Ellis, did you get your answers to your question, Mr. Ellis? Yes, I am. I'm sorry. Mr. Ellis, did you get answers to your questions? Hopefully your questions, because you had questions about this, and I'm trusting you got answers to them. Okay. Okay. Well, I think it's our understanding that there is a fence at the back of the property. There won't be any impact at your street at all. Because it does not go through, and it will continue as it has been, which is fenced as it has been. So, okay. That said, if there's, this is the opportunity for the applicant to come back. Do you have any additional comments? You hope not. Okay, council, do you have any further questions for the applicant? With that, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council, motion.
Mayor,
Yes.
I would move that we would accept the modification of zoning development agreement, and I'm guessing in case DAMO-00029-2019.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any additional discussion?
Are there conditions of approval?
Oh,
Based
excuse
on-
me, and based on conditions of approval.
Thank you. Second to that was still okay?
Yeah, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. If there's no discussion, let's roll call, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. Okay, so item 6.3 on the agenda is an action item. This is annexation and zoning to RS7, which is single-family residential, 7,000 square foot minimum lot size at 2704 East Amity Avenue. This is a .46 acre lot or 19,726 square feet portion of the southeast quarter of section 26 T3N R2WBM and tax ID 98951 in the southeast quarter, less the south 40 feet. This is for Arnolfa Romero, and this is for connection to city water and sewer. Is the applicant here this evening? I don't see the applicant. Staff, did you reach out to the applicant to encourage them to be here this evening? You did? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move into staff report, and I'll let you update us. I know it's common that people don't think they need to be here for sewer and water connection. I do recognize council has had some comments regarding that, but
Mayor and Council, Rod Ashby, Principal Planner. And yeah, at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, we talked to him about this process and this next step in the process. The applicant has requested annexation and zoning to RS7 at 2704 East Amity Avenue to connect to the city water and sewer. And as you can see, the Amity Dog Park is on the east side of this display here. And this is in an enclaved property, city surrounding the enclaved area. Nampa Planning and Zoning recommended approval of the application with conditions listed in the staff report, namely that they follow all city-adopted standards, conditions, and obtain appropriate permits and approvals, that they abandon the existing septic system in accordance with Southwest District health requirements, and that the applicant disconnect from the existing well for potable water purposes. As part of the Amity widening project, sewer and water services were stubbed to properties in this area for future connection. The proposed use is consistent with zoning code and future land use designations. It is surrounded by residential properties of similar use and size. The property is contiguous to city limits to the east and the south. The staff report recommends finding of fact to comply with the conclusions of law for annexation and zoning of the property, and we would recommend those to the city council. Should city council choose to approve the annexation and zoning, staff recommends the same conditions approved by planning and zoning.
thank you. Are there any questions for Rodney?
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you, Rodney. Being that our applicant is not here tonight, typically, I vote in opposition of going ahead without that, but being it's a straightforward annexation, my question would be, had the applicant shown any resistance to the condition of approval?
Not at all.
They were in agreement? Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, this is a public hearing, and we do not have anyone signed up to testify on behalf or against this. Is there anyone present this evening that had intended to testify? Seeing none, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, council.
I
Make-
make, go ahead.
I'll make the motion to approve the annexation and zoning request with the conditions of approval as outlined.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Item 6.4 on the agenda, this is an action item. This is a variance to the City of Napa zoning ordinance, Section 1018-6C, the front yard setbacks requiring a 25-foot setback from the front property line for structures. The property is located at 8100 East Executive Drive. This is Lot 7, Block 1 of Executive Part Subdivision in the southeast quarter, Section 10T3N R2W, within an industrial park zoning district. The applicant states they are requesting the setback variance in order to allow a reduced front yard setback of 10 feet, 7 inches for construction of a proposed new two-story 50 by 50 addition for a laboratory and office space. According to the applicant, the variance is required because the existing space to the east is used for truck traffic and loading docks, and the area on the west side of the property is planned for future warehousing and product expansion. Is the applicant present this evening? Thank you. Come on up and state your name and address, who you're with, and thank you for being here this evening.
Go ahead, you go first. Justin Holtus, Holthus, with Milne Microdrive, 8100 East Executive Drive in Nampa.
And I'm Michael J. Thompson with Milne Microdrive, 8100 East Executive Drive, Nampa.
Okay.
Can we throw that up there? So our proposal is to expand the facility out to the southeast, adding a additional research and develop kitchen and additional office space. As you can see, it does come out to the existing sidewalk, so it wouldn't come out beyond that, but it is, the property line changes there, so it does encroach on the 25-foot setback. If you look at the building to the east, you can see that's where our loading docks are, so we can't expand out further that way. To the north, we have no room to go because of Plexus, our neighbor. And to the west, that's where we double the size of the facility to expand out production. So it would match the front of the building. And right now, we have those kind of scattered throughout the plant. And we've kind of outgrown our existing facilities for R&D, our applications kitchen, and our sample packaging area.
While they're setting up, would you tell me a little bit about your business?
Absolutely. So we started in 2011. We moved into this facility. We do dried fruits and vegetables. We have a proprietary drying technology. We really push on the health and wellness movement. We have no sugar added, no additives, no preservatives. It's all natural fruit. We have a unique drying operation where it retains about 90% of its original nutrients. We do 100% industrial bulk wholesale, so we sell to companies who are interested in making a better product. So if they're trying to replace an infused fruit or really fake fruit is what's out there a lot, we offer a healthy, all-natural alternative.
So you're producing this here? I mean, you're drying the fruit here?
Yes.
And where's a lot of your fruit coming from?
So the majority of our fruit comes out of the Northwest. A lot of it comes out of Eastern Washington. We're a Wyckoff Farms company, and they are based out of southeastern Washington. We get a lot of fruit out of California, a lot of the Willamette Valley. We do expand out to Mexico, Costa Rica, Canada, some out of the Midwest, Wisconsin, but most of our fruit comes out of the Northwest.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, I'll let you keep going then on your expansion.
So right now, if you look at the layout of the facility, we have some of our R&D equipment kind of on the far west side, our sample area is on the southeast side, our kitchen is in here.
So that equipment's on this side and this corner.
And we've kind of outgrown those areas. Our facility's grown a lot over the last 5 years. Really starting in 2015, we saw a rapid increase in demand. We've had to expand twice already. We're adding in a third line, and it's kind of pushing us out of our current R&D areas. So we'd like to consolidate that R&D samples and our test lab kitchen into one spot, mostly for customer visits. Some of it with our customers to protect their proprietary projects that we're working on. So they can come in and see that. And right now, when you tour the facility, you can't help but walk by our R&D stuff. So we have to be very careful who's over and when we're running what. This would isolate that. It would also isolate it from the facility so that we could have additional capabilities.
right now, because of our strict incoming product testing and document control, it's really tough to get samples in. We have to go through a long, arduous process of documentation just to let anything in the facility. If we could separate the R&D facility from the production facility, then it would allow us to have greater R&D capabilities.
So, Madam Mayor, if I may, Mr. Thompson, how many full-time employees? Just curious.
We're about 80, 85 right now.
And it sounds like with expansion, you may be hiring more.
We're looking to get to like 115.
Okay,
We were 12 5 years ago.
all right. That's a good growth percentage. Yeah. Thanks.
We call that drinking to the fire hose. A little thirsty.
Wow. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. We'll have you come back at the end. After we do staff report, we'll see if there's any further questions that come forth.
It's funny, they've been here this long, and we didn't know anything about them. That's amazing.
Uh-huh.
Free samples?
I think we maybe ought to get.
I don't think we
that.
could take them right now.
I don't think so either.
What is this, Shark Tank or what?
Yeah.
I think Councilman Hogaman will be over there tomorrow morning now,
Yeah.
so.
He does like to eat.
We would
Thank
love
you.
to.
Thank you.
Staff report.
So, as indicated in the beginning, the purpose of this hearing is to consider the variance of the front setback. The IP zone requires a 25-foot setback, and they are requesting a 10-foot 7 setback on this addition area, which is be the area on the right of the, shows the extension coming forward on the overhead. That's 14 and a half, or 14 feet 5 inches less than the required 25 feet. And the applicant has explained his justification for requesting variance, and again, the council is at liberty to determine whether you feel this variance is justified. In our review of it as staff, I think, one could say that there are characteristics of this site. Mainly it can't have this addition without eating up space they need for future production area. And they need this space for their office and lab and whatnot. And whether that's a true site circumstance, I don't know. But to them, it certainly is a circumstance of the site that requires encroaching into this setback. Engineering has reviewed this. They have no opposition to, as far as the right-of-way issue is concerned, with reducing the setback on this building being built. And again, the addition is a 50 by 50 foot addition that would extend into the 25-foot setback area as mentioned. But it still does have the 10-foot 7 left. So anyway, there's not been any property owners or businesses in this area that have requested any or stated any opposition or any indication of concern over this variance being granted. And as the applicant, I think, has clearly indicated, this is the only feasible location they have on their site where they can do this addition. And I don't believe the addition would have any negative impact on other properties, in my view, at this location. So, any questions?
Mayor Kling, Norm, does Executive Drive terminate at the front of their property, or is there a turnaround there? It's kind of hard to see on the aerial map, and I'm not familiar enough with that location.
A bit unclear.
Actually, it almost looks like there's a turnaround.
There is a little turnaround, you can see just ever so faintly there.
So as Executive, there's no intention for it to continue further to the west. Okay. Yeah, that's a little easier to see.
That little turnaround area right there. But yeah, it doesn't go further west.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions for Norm? Seeing none, this is a public hearing, and we do not have anyone signed up to testify on behalf or against this particular request. Is there anyone here that had intended to testify? Okay, seeing none. For our applicant, do you have any additional comments after the staff report? Anything you'd like to clarify or say? Okay, thank you. And thank you for coming up and stating your name and your address and who you're with.
My name is Jude Brito with West Valley Construction. I would ideally be the contractor building this for them. My address, work address is 500 Johnson Lane in Caldwell, Idaho. A couple other points I wanted to make was the property is at that dead end, and we don't have that up, but there is an entrance, and then there is also a freezer existing already that is about in that same line, the same line of sight. By putting that building out there, we wouldn't be encroaching past there, so aesthetically, it would still be decent. It's just that turnabout where the property line ends, which causes the setback issue here. The other thing is that it is fenced already, and the property would still be behind, the new building would be still behind the existing fence line. So it wouldn't be encroaching into anything. And then one last thing with their comment was, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but they were also talking about getting into some nuts as far as their sample goes, and it's extremely difficult to put those nuts into that food area. They can't do it at all. So they're very limited in even expanding their business if they can't bring any nuts into what they already do. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Other than that, that's all I got.
That's very helpful to understand that there's an existing fence there and that the fence isn't changing.
That's right.
It's already fenced, it doesn't impact that. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for our applicant before we close public hearing?
Just out of personal curiosity, are you the gentleman from Nebraska that met at a football game?
Yes.
Okay, all right, sorry, that was just nagging me. Okay.
This is after.
Yeah, sorry.
You were in Nebraska and you met him?
Okay.
Cornhusker, right?
Cornhusker.
Okay, so if you have no further comments, if you think we have all the information, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, council.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to move that we grant the variance or setback variance to Wyckoff Farms and with the conditions of approval in case number VAR-00070-2019.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Fogg?
Yes.
Boom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
I look forward to visiting your facility. I was not aware of your business, so I would love to come out and see it. Thank you. Thank you for being here in our community, because you're absolutely the niche of food production that we have in our community. So thank you. That's great. So we'll look forward to coming in.
Madam Mayor, I'm just curious, how many different fruits, and we're talking about nuts eventually, but how about number of fruits that you process?
We're 32 fruits and vegetables now.
Man.
Wow.
And your largest production item is?
Blueberries.
Blueberries.
Blueberries and spiced strawberries.
Can you buy them all here?
So you can buy them all at the grocery store in other products, whether it be General Mills or Kellogg or yogurt
Okay.
or stuff like that. We don't sell any direct.
Oh, I see.
Loretta, are you buying those? Okay, all right, okay.
She's got big eyes.
We'll have that on Monday night, right? The Monday night, right, okay.
We've been at this since the inception of it, so it's kind of fun to go through a grocery store and see Berry Berry Cheerios and realize we developed the powder that's in it.
Oh, wow.
Good for you.
It's made in Memphis.
Well, thank
And
you.
did one of you guys initiate this business, or?
No, we just got hired at the same time.
Okay, all right, wonderful, thanks.
Oh, good.
Congratulations. Good for you. We look forward to touring. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I bet it does. Thank you so much. That concludes our public hearings. So council, we've been here for 2 hours. We've been here a lot longer than that. Would you like a break before we move into new business items?
Yes.
Yes?
Sure. Oh.
Okay, quick break. We're
Okay,
going to take a 5-minute recess. We'll be back and step into section 5-1. So this is the appointment of Randy Haverfield to the Arts and Historic Preservation Commission.
So,
Mayor Kling? I
You were
will,
trying to
be
win.
abstaining from the vote, and I'm going to cover my ears so you can speak freely.
Well, I will say that on both of these, we have an Airport Commission and the Arts and Historic Preservation Commission appointments. And the process for appointments is that we ask for applications. They go through a review process for each of the commissions, and then there's a recommendation that comes forth after their application has been received. I actually send these forward based on the recommendation of the commission.
So Councilman Haverfield has been vetted.
He has been fully vetted and recommended.
Did anyone else apply?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I will say that the criteria for arts and historic preservation is extremely high, and that not just anyone can serve. And so it takes someone with the right expertise to serve on that commission. Therefore, Randy Haverfield has come forth as a recommended nominee.
Thank you.
So,
Madam Mayor, I would make the strong recommendation for Randy Haverfield to the Arts and Historic Preservation Commission, and at the same time, thank him for being willing to serve even further for the city.
second.
is there any further discussion?
Mayor, I do need to make some comments, and they have nothing to do with Councilman Haverfield personally, but I serve as liaison to the Historic Arts and Preservation Committee, and being that they're not here tonight, they have asked me to just make some comments and voice some of their concerns. First, they did want to know if anyone else, any other architects or engineers had applied, and that I couldn't obviously answer for them, so I don't know how much further they went with that. But while we all recognize the value that Councilman Haverfield brings as far as an architect, they were very appreciative of that and seeing his designs and the things that he has done. The concerns or reservations that they had, and I believe they're valid, and I just wanted to put them out there, is that because he does serve on so many of the boards and commissions within the city that have to do with land and building, that was a concern that they had.
Was there any recommendation, and that they sent him forth as a recommendation?
Well, they are interviewing the other two candidates. They're setting up to interview those. I don't know if Mr. Sanchez has communicated that with you or not, but as I said, they were wondering, were there any other applicants that fulfilled the requirements as far as architecture or engineering? And I did not know that information.
How many positions do we have open currently on the Arts and Historic Preservation?
It's 2.
We have 2 positions.
And they're
So we-
having a problem having a quorum because of that.
Okay. So Bobby, do you have any additional comments? You've had the discussions with Arts and Historic Preservation, I would assume?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was present there at the discussions or deliberations when we reviewed the applications that we had to date for the 2 vacancies. With Councilman Haverfield, because of his subject matter expertise and his credentials being a licensed professional architect, he was the obvious choice and recommendation for the vacancy, given the applicants that we had, but also his strengths for sure. To this date, we've received no other applicants that have those credentials. We do have set up a time to interview the other 2 applicants. I believe that's next week for the remaining vacancy. But pending any questions or comments, that's the only information I have.
Thank you very much. Okay, unless there's further discussion, we have both a motion and a second to approve Randy Haverfield to the Arts and Historic Preservation Commission. Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Abstain.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Councilman Haverfield, thank you for your willingness to serve. It's
Thank you for
appreciated.
the honor to serve.
So action item 5.2 is the appointment of Wayne Thiel to the Nampa Airport Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, who took that?
Darrell got it.
He got.
I'm slow today.
The motion and the second. Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Item 5.3 on the agenda is, and Mr. Thiel doesn't happen to be here this evening, does he? I realize that would have been a mistake, so I don't see him here this evening. Item number 5.3 on the agenda is an action item. This is the approval of the FY19 budget estimate for First Interstate Bank Building purchase, tenant improvement, utilities, operations, maintenance, and custodial. This is to authorize the procurement of design services, construction services, rental purchases, and related equipment installation services for the tenant improvements at First Interstate. Patrick Sullivan. Patrick, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We are fast approaching the June 30th closing date that was listed in our our intent to purchase agreement. So what we'd like to do prior to moving forward with acting on closing documents and then planning for the subsequent purchase and tenant improvement to the building, I'd like to just bring you up to speed on our current estimate, which will then be captured in the June budget amendment. So let's see if this thing works. Okay. So basically, the action item description is exactly what the mayor said. We can skip that. Funding. The building purchase will be funded by the general fund reserve balance through budget amendment. Facilities, operations, and maintenance costs for the remainder of FY19 will be funded by the general fund through the same budget amendment. And design, construction, and equipment for the building remodel will be funded from the Development Services Reserve Fund. This is hard to read, but in your handouts, I've split up the total cost of property purchase, construction, and then facilities, operations, and maintenance, which would have include utilities, maintenance contracts, operations, supplies, custodial, and maintenance tech services from July through September in FY19. The total project costs for the purchase is $2,533,822. The construction costs and all equipment is $950,004. And then the total project costs, or facilities operations maintenance total for the last quarter of the year would be $49,524, which brings us to $3,533,350. So the general fund reserve balance would pay for the property purchase, the $2,533,822 amount. The general fund amendment of $49,524 would cover facilities, operations, and maintenance items. And then we have budgeted in our FY19 budget, we would be spending an additional $313,079, and then in FY20 for the lion's share of the remodel, we would be spending $636,925. We have a recap of everything that's going into the budget. We have space planning and design with a subtotal. We have the office remodel with contingency and permits, which is around $705,900. And then we have the other incidental and equipment costs of moving and storage, FF&E cubicle remodels, IT network switches, security cameras, access controls for doors, intrusion alarms. We also have full data cabling for the first floor and basement because the existing data cabling in the building is old and surface mounted, and due to the extent of the remodel, we'll have to pull all new cable for that. And then I want to walk you through just briefly, and these are in your packets, these are our schematic design drawings for the basement. The majority of this work includes moving existing fixtures and cubicles and desks from the first floor down to the basement, and then building a wall to subdivide a building inspector area from a storage area. Then on the first floor, we're consolidating all of the departments that have to do with development services, developing land. We have planning and zoning, which would be, let's see here, planning and zoning right up here with some engineering techs. We have economic development. We have building department and engineering plan review over here. We have the service counter for building over here with the rest of the building department over here. We're using the vault, we're splitting it between building for our plans that are going in and out, and then also we're replacing engineering's vault that they currently have here at City Hall. They'll be putting all their vault items in here, their older drawings, plats, et cetera. We're bringing over facilities, 4 of the administrative staff of facilities over into this building for a few years because we need to have them out of the Magnum building. And then right here we have environmental department, environmental compliance division. They would handle all their erosion permits and inspections for erosion. And then if you recall, we've already moved, let's see here. We've already moved to the second floor through the lease, all of Public Works Administration and Engineering and GIS. And those departments, it's not 100% full, but this will take them through their long-range growth plan, probably 7 to 10 years on their administrative side. So at this point, I have the action item requests that you saw in your packet, and I have gelled it down into these 4 action items, and I can read those action items to you, and then you would be able to approve them. But first, I'll stand for any questions you might have.
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
I toured the second story with Director Tom Points the other day, and it's a great, great building for us. So thank you for that idea. I liked it a lot. Also, I'm going to ask you, when you say we're taking money from the fund balance reserve, what do we have in there now? What's the amount, do you know?
For Mayor and Councilman Rodriguez, do you mean the general fund balance?
Yes.
Okay, the general fund balance, I think our finance director could answer that.
Okay.
That question. I'm not sure what it is at this point. I know the Development Services Fund balance is right about $4.3 million.
Okay.
That we will
Is
be
that
paid
where
to
you're taking that
remodel.
from?
No, we're taking the remodel out of the Development Services, but we're taking the purchase out of the General Fund Reserve balance.
Okay, it says general fund reserve balance through the budget amendment. So we have it, but we're not using it until the next 2020, correct?
No. The budget amendment will be effective in FY19 to enable the spend to purchase the building. So it will come out of the general fund this year.
This year, okay. Do you know what that amount is that we have in there, in that balance?
Off the top of my head, no. I will find out for you.
Okay. That's all I had, thank you.
That said, in answer to that question, if, based on the staff report that was given earlier, we just moved 1.2 million rollover from FY18. A little bit of that could be a rollover that's included in our budget. But the nice thing is that probably $1 million of the 2.5 we have just placed in there into our fund balance from
Right,
FY18.
I don't recall the exact numbers, but over the last 5 years, we have increased the general fund reserve every year by a degree. So it's always gone up just a little bit every year.
Okay.
It's around a $12 million.
Is it?
I believe.
Somewhere in there? Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions?
Mayor? A few questions, Patrick, that I had people bring up to me regarding on the contract. And then also it was kind of, I'm thinking, did I miss something? But letter C and number 2C, and then on page 7, number 8 refers to the exchange property. And I don't know if I missed something, but I thought that was off the table.
Mayor and Councilwoman Levi, that is off the table. We did not amend that purchase agreement. It was put in there as an option, but it was not a condition of the sale.
Okay, thank you. And let me just go back. I had a couple more notes, and I just want to make sure I'm speaking with informed here. Okay, and then on page 7, number 6, it talks about the as-is, and about the middle of the paragraph, it says that the buyer will independently verify all information and reports regarding any aspect of feature of the FIB property and personal property provided by seller. Then it says, seller does not guarantee the accuracy of any information or reports provided by seller.
Mayor and Councilwoman Levi, due to the building being acquired by First Interstate Bank from another bank, they were unable, they did not receive in that transfer of property any of their old capital improvement plans, how they maintain the building, any of their records concerning the building. So what we did is Brian Foster and I and some of our consultants and contractors went through the building. We assessed the items that should be on a 10-year capital plan, such as the roof, which we informed you of when we did our executive session, and the rooftop equipment. That's going to have to be replaced within the next probably 3 to 5 years, based on how based on when it fails or starts to fail. So we feel like it's kind of like buying a used car. We're buying it. We've taken it somewhere. We've looked at it. We know what we need to fix in the next 10 years, and I think we have a pretty decent capital improvement plan for that building. And the purchase price is reflective of that. It's lower than what the building currently appraises for, which I think is a little over $4 million. If you go look at what the assessor's assessed value. So I think it's really a pretty good deal for us, knowing that we're buying an older building and we're going to have to get on a regular maintenance schedule with it, just like we do all of our older buildings.
That clarifies that really well. And then the other question I was asked was the fact that this is May and there are a lot of April dates in the contract. And I just said that I would ask the question, and I hope they're listening.
Mayor and Councilwoman, I've spoken with their facilities director, First Interstate Bank's director. There is nothing keeping us from moving forward with the closing. We've been in contact back and forth throughout the lease, and right now we're going to move forward and be working on a purchase contract, the title research and the title package for closing.
Perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any additional questions? Okay.
Okay, well, I'll read the action item request. I was talking to the city clerk, and then you can just vote on what I've read to you. So the action item request is in 4 parts: to approve the FY19 budget estimate for the purchase, closing costs and fees, facilities, operations and maintenance costs, and tenant improvement and equipment costs for the First Interstate Bank building located at 512th Avenue South; to authorize the Economic Development Department, Facilities Development Department, and City Attorney to initiate and manage the purchase of the First Interstate Bank building located at 512th Avenue South, with a closing date scheduled on or before June 30th, 2019. To authorize the Facilities Development Department to procure design services, construction services, equipment purchases, and related equipment installation services necessary to remodel the basement and first floor of the First Interstate Bank building for occupancy by the City of Nampa departments based on the approved budget recap, and to author Mayor Kling to sign a work task order for miscellaneous professional services in the amount of $31,000 with JGT Architecture for the development of bidding documents and plans for the remodel of the First Interstate Bank building located at 512th Avenue South.
I'll make the motion as read that we accept the action items.
Second?
Is there any further discussion? Any questions? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vogelboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Stogg?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Patrick, thank you for the detailed information. It's appreciated. The next item on the agenda is 5.4, and this is an action item to authorize the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Salvation Army as a third-party administrator for the Nampa Shares and Cares program. This would include the termination of our current agreement. Deborah Spiele, would you like to come speak to this? And then I'm happy to share whatever, but I'll let you share with us. Thank you.
Deborah Spilly, Finance Department. Just wanted to give you a little background on Nampa Shares and Cares. It was developed between Utility Billing and Public Works 7 years ago and adopted, and we have been, we've been able to help 151 citizens in Nampa over the years with assistance on their water, sewer, trash bills. And we've recognized some challenges with funding in particular. We rely on donations for funding, which has been a little difficult, some of it logistically, because over 65% of our customers pay electronically. And in every one of those venues, there isn't an opportunity to declare an overage to go to the fund for Nampa Shares and Cares. We do hope to look to our new software that we're in for other options for that, but we do struggle with just the opportunity for people to dedicate certain funds for the program. And so we have been council has approved excess funds from unclaimed funds that we're unable to find the owners for, and that supplements our program considerably each year. And we work with customers substantially in first and foremost waiving late fees, and working with customers to, if they have the means, to either make arrangements or to make a partial payment, and then we give assistance for the balance of it, or it's the whole amount, depending on the means of the customer. And we've been making the money stretch, but it's been a challenge. And so this opportunity came to us to review the program, and also recognizing that the access for our third-party vendor currently is with YCAP, and they have a location in Caldwell. So it's a hardship for our customers to engage with YCAP to secure the eligibility for the assistance. So that's why we are making some recommendations to have a current third party, and also I guess I would also support the donation from Republic Services as well, because we have a lot of citizens who need the assistance to help with their bills. And additionally, is some of the application of the program is to consider items like expanding the eligibility. Right now, it's 125% of the poverty level, and for a family of 4, that's like $32,000 a year. So some people need the help, and they're not eligible. So I would just stand for any questions, if you have any questions about the program or.
Mayor, Deborah, which one do you go by?
It's fine, yeah.
Okay, question for you, because I am the liaison for the Council on the Aging, and one of the comments that I've often heard on this committee is our seniors are often overlooked. And because of their pride, they generally won't come forward even to the senior center and say that they have a need. And so while I very much support the Salvation Army and the work that they do, I'm wondering, one, is how do we go about getting the word out? And what have we done in the past to get the word out so that, for instance, our seniors know that it's there? Because typically, we have for the low income or whatever, and the message is out there everywhere. But the seniors either fall through the gap or they just aren't aware that the assistance is there for them.
Currently, we actually have information on the statements, the utility bill statements about the program and about eligibility and who to contact and how to contact us about it, as well as how to donate. And it's on our website, and we have done some flyers previously. But that is one of the items that when staff met, and this was in collaboration with the mayor's department and staffing as well, to kind of brainstorm about different opportunities that we can kind of dig into and to expand the knowledge of the program as well as the eligibility and the assistance, is to have a more proactive campaign so that people do know. And I appreciate you bringing up the seniors too, because that is where sometimes, even on a fixed income, they may not even be eligible, but the need is clearly there.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Deborah, so it sounds like there's an opportunity to educate, or to, not educate, reach out to 65% of the people like myself that are on automatic billing, that we just forget that that even exists or don't know it, when Tyler kicks in, is that right?
I hope so.
All right.
I don't know, I can't say that with confirmation at this point, but it's certainly one of the objectives that we're looking for, is to give people the opportunity to elect certain funds to go to the program. But you can contact us and we can bill you a certain amount every month as well. That is an option for you currently.
If people know about it. So
Yes.
we can do that. People in Nampa are generous when asked.
Yes.
And we're just not asking 65% directly, probably, that we could.
That's correct.
All right.
That's correct.
Thanks.
It is on their bill, is that correct, though, that they
It-
can give?
Yes.
The opportunity's there, we would just need to do some type of an insert or something to help raise awareness.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions on this? There are two different action items, and then we'll go to the next one after this. This is really about changing the third-party provider from YCAP over to the Salvation Army so that our citizens don't have to drive to Caldwell. Salvation Army has said that they would be willing, in fact, it would actually be beneficial to them because they are currently doing a utility assistance program, but they haven't had the offering of our utility assistance program. And so it's something they're already doing. And one thing I appreciate about the Salvation Army is actually the opportunity to possibly do an outreach to our senior citizens. I mean, we could visit the senior center and just identify ways to help raise visibility and support our seniors. So is that an option? Yeah, okay. So that said, are there further questions, or is there an action item?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Fellow council members, I'll make the motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Salvation Army as third-party administrator as presented.
Second.
That said, we will work through legal for their review and consideration as we do this. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
So action 5.5 is actually a discussion and action item to authorize the use of the Republic Services donation to fund the Nampa Shares and Cares program. So I want to just speak ever so briefly regarding this particular donation. So as we're all aware, and Aaron, thank you for your article. So we actually brought this to Aaron's attention, I don't know, it's been many months ago. And I will say that this is, as much as this has been going on for at least 3 years, this is the first we've been more aware of it publicly, that the funds have been received and donated. Republic Services, I don't know if you guys were able to read the article, because I don't need to go. If you've read the article and you're aware, they don't know if they'll even have the funds this year. Needless to say, last year, when we received the funds and I suggested the donation to our North Nampa Food Shuttle program, it was based on the recommendation of our then finance director when asking her how it had been handled in the past and what I should do. She said that it's at the discretion of the mayor, it wasn't designated, and in the past it was just that Mayor Henry made a decision, and that's what they did, and they put it towards parks. In the future, and as why we're bringing this forward, in the future, if we did have a donation like this, if we were to be so fortunate as to have the donation, I'd bring it to council. The reason it has set so long, this piece, has been just to determine what the highest and best use of the funds are and to circulate the discussion around this. So So that was a learning, so I've learned something new. I will say though, in visiting with the other mayors, and even Garden City Mayor, they did the same as I did, right? Which they didn't take it to council, didn't feel the need to, so my apologies for that. Won't do that again. But at this point, and Amy spoke to it very well, and that was, the need is great with our senior citizens and with the citizens across our nation, our community, because we're continuing to increase both our domestic water, our irrigation water, and our wastewater. Some have asked, why didn't we just give those dollars directly back to the citizens? Basically, it would have been about $1.50 to each citizen, which is somewhat non-impactful. So my recommendation is to put the current funds to our Nampa Shares and Cares program to jumpstart that program and give it to those who have the greatest needs. Councilman Skog did suggest, and thank you for your phone call and your suggestion to have a different alternative. I haven't had the chance to come up with a different alternative at this time for how that would be used, but I do feel strongly, having listened to our citizens, that there is a great need amongst our citizens, because we as a city are voting again and again to increase rates. And we have seniors on limited fixed incomes that are asking for help. Currently, we have a seniors program that gives a $1 discount on trash. And what we've heard of that is that is absolutely not, it's really not help. I mean, a $1 on a bill is not a whole lot. So I guess I'd be open to discussion or suggestions from the council as to what your thoughts are regarding this.
Madam Mayor, there can be discussion, but I'm going to make the motion that we go ahead and donate the Public Services donation to Nampa Shares and Cares.
Is there a second? If there's no second, then that would not move forward.
Oh.
I appreciate your motion. So then, is there an alternative?
Mayor, thank you, Councilman Brunner, and I appreciate your consideration in that area. And I've already said my piece about our seniors, but because I want to let Ms. Frazier know that made a comment earlier on the non-agendized and agendized portion of the meeting, where she talked about the Union Pacific Railroad, the museum. The train
depot.
museum, thank you, the depot. I appreciate comments like that, and those are all obviously things that we can consider, but I also have to take into consideration the reality of the bills that are going up, utility bills. My own personal situation is my water sewer bill, combination bill has been $98 every 2 months, and I was shocked when my bill came 2 weeks ago and it was $150. And I'm going, well, that's more than what we voted for, a one-time increase. And I know the reality of that. Now, I've gone to utility billing, and they're looking to see if there's something more to that dynamic there. But I know when I saw that bill and I know what's coming, that really took me for a loop. And when I've listened to our seniors, especially, and this one will probably throw you, but out at Steel Falls, we have a lot of seniors out there, and they pay between $8,000 to $12,000 a year property taxes. That's what their taxes have gone up to. And so we automatically might want to assume they have excess funds and they can afford these increases with no problem. But I have sat in living rooms where they have told me they moved here, they spent their savings, they bought their house for cash. They did not anticipate these property taxes and these utility increases going so astronomical that they are now facing the decision to sell their homes. So again, it's that the older segment of our society that I really have a passion to take care of.
So Councilwoman Levi, help me understand where that's taking us, because you did not second a motion. So do you have a suggestion? Because I really am looking for a solution.
I guess my thought is that we need to, it's the validity of one, I guess I want it to give the validity or the credibility to Ms. Frazier's request about the train depot. And I appreciate people putting that in the mix. But if we had extra money or we weren't having these utility increases, I would be more open to looking at that. But because we are having these increases that are affecting our citizens, helping them out, especially those that are needing the assistance, is something that I have more of a passion. Did
So are
did I
you-
target that more?
Well, a little bit. I'm a little confused, though. So what are you suggesting we do with the Republic Services funds?
Something that will specifically help relieve our community members.
So that's what the Nampa Shares and Cares program is?
Correct.
Is a utility assistance? But you didn't, okay. So I'm a little confused because we didn't second a motion, so that means that motion fails, which means
Correct.
we don't do that.
And so you asked for discussion.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that Ms. Frazier knew that
You heard her.
we heard her.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Councilman?
Yeah, Mayor, I almost seconded for sake of discussion. I wanted to have discussion, I guess, prior to,
Okay.
other than having the second. I'm just curious, can Republic Services just donate directly to who they choose to donate to rather than to the city, or earmark their donation if they, I think the reason it seems like it's been done the way it has been is to avoid sort of councils, right? I mean, all 6 of us can have different ideas on where the money should go or not go to, and it could become an unpleasant experience for someone donating money and in goodwill wanting it to help the community in some capacity. So it's been used for parks. I would like to see it used for parks to help expedite something, but this isn't really the forum, I think, to try to persuade or arm pull, because there's 100 worthy things that we could put up that the money could go to. And so I'm just wondering, can Republic just donate directly? Do you
So the
know, Mayor?
answer is no.
No,
And the
okay.
reason is, these funds were donated last year.
Okay.
We have been very slow in identifying a use and a recommended use for them.
Mm-hmm.
This is we may never get these funds again. In fact, I highly doubt we will. So currently, and I think this may be why the mayor's just made a decision and recommended and did it. And that's what happened in the past, because it becomes so difficult to just make a decision. So they said, let's just do X. And that's what some of them have done. So at this point, no, we can't go back, and it is not dedicated. It's something that they donate and say it's at the, as they had said at the time, it's at the mayor's discretion how they would like to apply the funds, since it's outside the normal budget within the city. So,
Well, thanks for answering that. That was informative. There, in the packet, there wasn't information just on this specific
Right.
action item. There was on the memorandum. That was very helpful as far as how Salvation Army and what the litmus test was for eligibility. I want to see the money be used in some capacity to help the community, but I also realize that in light of the motion not having a second and failing, we go away tonight with no one being helped and it doing nothing. So I'm not comfortable with that either. I wish there was more information, not faulting you as a mayor. I realize that the article helped spur on this action item tonight, and I thank you for
well, I want to
bringing it
clarify
to us.
that. The
Yeah.
article, no offense, Aaron, because Aaron knows that this has been a discussion and we've needed to bring it forward, but we haven't until we had an idea in place. And so we've been sitting on it for quite some time because she's been waiting to do something on it, and we just didn't have a recommendation. So,
Okay. Is it, I don't know if it's okay within the action item. My preference would be if we were to do this, it would be a one-time thing, and we wouldn't be setting a precedent or setting a bar for expectation for the recipients of it next year when this money runs out, that it has to be funded through any other mechanism than donations or people rounding up or electing that their money goes to the program, that needs to be the sustainable model for funding it. So I don't want to raise the public expectation that approving this, it hits the paper, and then all of a sudden, half the city thinks that they're going to get $10 off their assistance, and then there's this rude awakening that only 230 people, if I did the math correctly, would be able to get the assistance. So my preference was that it would be bundled into one appropriation for something that could theoretically benefit the whole city. If it was, I would support a motion, or make a motion if it was restrictive, and I don't know if this, on legal grounds, was just of all that list of the people who qualify, that the money would just go to the seniors, the 65 and up, not all the other classifications that were listed within, because I go to the senior center for lunch often as well, and I realize that some of them have challenges with the rate increases. So my preference would be it would just go to the seniors, and I don't know if that's even, I'm kind of thinking out loud, and if this isn't the right forum to do it, I don't know what the right forum would be, because it's, you know, it's on the agenda for us to discuss, and I want the money to be used in some capacity. So.
I think this is a good forum to discuss it, because this is our opportunity to talk as a council. And I also would welcome, if the council would so choose, I mean, we could move forward on a motion as you're suggesting, or if you want us to survey the public, because we don't have to make a decision tonight. It could be that the council says we'd like to put half to this and half to something else, or that they'd like the input of the citizens. I'm open, so if there's a different, Councilman
Madam
Brunner.
Mayor, just clarification. So my understanding was that this was just for this one-time amount.
Yes.
This is not a precedent for future, if Republic does come through, that we're not talking, this could be going to another area in the future. We're making a decision. I guess I'm struggling a little bit. I don't think this is a real tough decision. These folks need it, it's utilities. If there's another suggestion for another, I don't like the idea of parceling it out. I don't think it's enough money to do that. And so I don't know why we're taking this much time, but anyway, somebody explain that to me, I'd appreciate it.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
I guess my question, I wanted to hear the dialogue, because I heard that there might be a discussion on this matter. At this point, are we talking about a policy shift away from these type of donations coming to the city, that it would come back before the council for making decisions? Is that what we're talking about in this action? Or are we still saying that if something like this comes forward, that you would not have the ability to give us advice on where it should go?
Well, my communication, as long as I'm mayor, if it comes again, I'll bring it to council. I'm committed to doing that.
So
I'm
it's a
more than
policy
happy.
change. Okay.
Yeah, I don't
And
know
it-
if it's, you know what, it's awareness. I think for me, as much as anything, it's those learnings that you go through, and I'm more than happy to bring it. This particular action item should, those are kind of two different issues, because one is, yes, I'll bring it to council for input if we were to get another donation like this. This is highly unusual. Then the other answer to the question is, are we setting a precedence? Again, it's unusual that we would have an item like this, so this would be a one-time opportunity to jumpstart a program, but we could do whatever.
So if I can finish my thought then, I think that there are a lot of worthy causes out there, and I think that's kind of what's come before us now, is this it's in the print, that people have an awareness that they wouldn't have had otherwise. Things just would have been happening that would have been a benefit to the community, like park ground equipment in the past. So I don't have a problem with seconding the motion that was made earlier, as far as to move forward with that as a place for that money to go. I don't have an issue with that. There's a lot of other good places, whether it's the depot, whether it's others. But at this point in time, that was a recommendation you made, which I would support, along with several others. I mean, but there just isn't ample funds to be able to do everything justice. So I know the motion's been made, it wasn't second. I don't know the protocol, if the motion can be made again or not. Yeah, I thought that it could. So if the motion's made again, I will second it.
Yeah, can I get I don't know if Mark, I asked a question about the legality of just the seniors who fit within the income level, just because there's so few people who can benefit from the amount.
Mayor and Councilman Hogaboom, I think the answer is yes. And the way that would play out is we would adjust the criteria that are set forth currently in the MOU. And of course, that has to be reworked anyway for Salvation Army. If that's part of the motion, to basically approve the donation and the MOU, then what I would probably do is the research between now and the next meeting to make sure that that's an appropriate criteria. And then bring back the MOU if this is what council wants to do with that criteria. If I determine that that's going to create some sort of age-related discrimination, then I'd probably bring it back without.
Thanks for the answer. In that case, I don't want to create more work, paralysis by analysis, and Republic's donation just goes to no good use. The idea of the seniors is, I know that some single moms and others that are classified need assistance and challenges. Oftentimes, I need to know more about the vetting process. Sometimes there's people who are technically legally single, but they cohabitate with others and they don't list the other income of their partner in the income. I know of stories, and it's unfortunate, and I don't want to in any way cast aspersions upon all single mothers as being in that situation. I just felt better with knowing that the limited income of our senior community, with our rate increases, letting them know that there's a program and jump-starting the program with the Republic Service donation. To be clear to our taxpayers, this is not taxpayer money. This was a credit that Republic got, is donating to the city, and they want it to help the city in some beneficial matter. So I don't want to kill, I guess, the mayor's. Again, we could all have different ideas here. The mayor's made a suggestion, and I would support that as well. So I should have seconded for sake of discussion to have this discussion, but I wanted to have the discussion more and have some of these legal questions asked before I felt comfortable about what the alternatives were. So thanks.
I believe in the discussions that we had with Salvation Army earlier, that they currently have a program, utility assistance for seniors, and it's age 62 and up, and that is not setting a new precedent. It's currently what you're managing. Is that correct? Thank you, because I think the answer to our question is already here.
Okay, so with the Idaho Power, how we do it is it's currently at 130% of poverty. And there's a vetting process that we require, I mean, they have to, there's just so many things, like, they have to have a disconnect notice, or they have to have this or that and show good faith payments. But with seniors, there's a little bit more leeway, and we have discussed that, Councilwoman Levi, about benefiting all seniors and raising that level. So we would just implement that, whatever we came up with legal, as to what you wanted to use as the vetting process. Because we already have people call us every single day, I don't know, I can't even tell you how many times a day people call and ask for assistance with their bill. We do a short interview with them on the phone to make sure we're not wasting their time by having them come down. Then we make an appointment with them, and then we go in deeper, asking, figuring out that they're qualified for the program. So yes, seniors, we give them a little bit more leeway into it. They have less hurdles to jump to get assistance. I don't know if that
that's helpful.
That's
makes
very
it a little
helpful.
bit clearer, so it wouldn't matter. Whatever you want to put in place, that's the question, we would just bring out like this script for people that, but they're already coming there, so it just makes sense, to have it all in one spot.
Thank you.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
So I've been sitting here listening to everybody say what their opinion is on this. So what was, and I didn't read the article, but, and I don't know who you gave the money to. Can you tell me now?
Oh, we gave 20,000 months ago to the North Nampa Food Shuttle.
Oh, I see, okay.
Right, the food shuttle that didn't have the funding to provide for the needs in the North Nampa area, we funded 20,000 for that food shuttle so that the people there had a way to get to the grocery
Okay.
store.
So, and that's what I thought. So here's my thinking. Yes, the seniors do need help, and I'm actually very hard to those because I am a senior. But also, there is the north side that is without food, let alone money to pay the bills. So I think that was a good idea, Mayor. The north side is really having a difficult time in many aspects, with water and electricity and food, travel. And I think that is a good idea of what you did. So thank you for that. So I'm struggling with this motion. That's why I didn't go with it. But there's so much more out there that we can give to. Oh my gosh. But I don't know whether we should pinpoint just one, or I don't know whether we should involve in that. So I don't know what to do with that, I'll tell you right now. If a good motion comes before me, I'll think about it and I'll go from there. But I'm really sorry for the north side. We've got to do something with them. So there you go.
Thank you. And that's why I actually early on made that decision because, and no offense, we did not fund funding for North Nampa. Our CDBG guidelines actually say, and it clearly says in our guidelines, that transportation for that group is a high priority for CDBG, but we didn't fund CDBG funding to fund it. And when you had people that couldn't get to the grocery store that need food, that's the beauty of this one time, well, it's been, what, 3-time gifts, but to give it back to, it's giving it back to the people that need it the most. And so that's the intent, is to put it where we have a need in our community. I do fully agree with our seniors and the need there, so I'll be quiet.
Madam Mayor. Fellow council members, I'm going to wax philosophical a little bit. One way is to just put this money back into the wastewater budget and lower the rates that we're going to increase a little bit. Then seniors' rates don't go up quite as much, or everybody's rates don't go up quite as much. So people are complaining about the increases. Maybe we just shouldn't make the increases. The council voted specifically not to use public funds for private charity food truck service in the North End for good reason and long discussion. One of those is Albertsons can deliver. That $20,000 would give 2,000 home deliveries from Albertsons at no minimum cost of how much you buy. And more if you bought a large amount and budgeted your money for a month's worth of groceries. But it's philosophical. Once that money comes into our city, it's public funds with no strings. And I think we all agree that that should have gone through the council or in some way come out. And the mayor's apologized for that without talking to us. But I'm bothered that it went for something we specifically voted no on. But maybe that's just me. I'd rather see the funds used for a new police car. We're going to be short on police cars, or parks, or a new water slide out at the new park. There's lots of needs that you could designate. So I would vote no.
Is there any further discussion?
I would just recommend, from what I heard from Councilman Haverfield, I'll let you go ahead and make the, you said you'd be willing to second. Why don't you go ahead and do the initial motion?
No, it's you. Not you.
Jeez. Okay, I have no problem with that. I don't want to go another 20 minutes here, though, guys, so. Okay, I will make the motion and authorize use of Republic Services donation to fund Nampa Shares and Cares program. Do I need to add something to that, Mark?
Do
Okay,
you want it for seniors or not?
I want it, yes, I want it.
Specified for seniors? Okay.
I thought this program was for 62 and above. Isn't that what I was hearing?
No, that your motion would need to specify
Okay,
that.
I will
seniors.
specify if that's what's considered currently seniors, then.
Or whatever it is.
Yes. Well, senior citizens are all different ages, so do we need to specify, Mark, a certain age? So from what I heard from the program, they're going to be administrated by Salvation Army, it needs to be 62 years of age and above.
And I will second the motion with the comment that it's my knowledge that going forward, that as monies come through back to the city, that they will come before us for decisions. So this is a worthy cause. There's several out there we could point our fingers at, but this is a worthy cause, and the mayor did bring that forward for our consideration, and I'll support it.
Was there a second to your motion?
That's my second.
That was your second. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I had a
it's been-
second, and then I had a comment.
Thank you. That was second and discussion.
Yes.
Okay, you're good. So it's
And-
been moved and seconded
In
and
discussion, I trust the mayor, this mayor, that she will bring it before us
Bring it.
in the future, if there's any future funds. So.
And thank you for bringing it before us. Thank you.
Councilwoman Levi.
Mayor, first off, I would like to thank you for, when we initially got the donation from Republic Services, or the rebate, that you did go check with Finance Director to find out what the precedent had been before, so that you were just kind of following the established pattern. And then I thank you again for your judgment in the past with the North Nampa Food Shuttle, and there have been, major strides working over there, seeing that they're taking care of the best that we can at this point, and more ideas in the future. One of the comments that I would make, and I would like us to be thinking about, and maybe Marjorie Potter, excuse me, because you have more experience in this area than we do, you have an idea of how we can be reaching out and letting people know the funds are there, because the seniors I'm talking about are not seniors that are going to turn to Salvation Army. And those are the seniors I would like to see us be able to target, but I don't know specifically how to go about that, other than maybe working with the senior center and some of our senior residents, so like Silvercrest, that type of development thing. I couldn't think of the word I wanted, to see if we can reach out and let them know that the funds are available in that avenue. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other discussions? Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Boy, I wish it was going somewhere else, back into the city, and the city could give it out to, well, the CARES program. I'm going to say yes on this.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
No.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Okay, so 5.6 on the agenda. This is an action item to authorize the mayor and public works director to sign a task order for scope of work for consultant services with parametrics for the North 39th Street Alternative Study for Airport Division. It's been reviewed by legal and approved in the FY19
So
budget.
move.
I'll second, but I have a question.
Okay.
Regarding the purchase of right-of-way north of Garrity on 39th, is that a part of this study?
Mayor, Councilman, yes. The box I show up there, there's a portion of it on 39th that we've already looked at.
Right.
That's the intersection. The areas that we haven't looked at yet, we will be looking at what's the right-of-way take that we need.
And I know the reason we didn't pursue any further design north of Garrity was because of the trailer park that was there and the concern about HUD awareness and potential lawsuit against the city. Has that been resolved?
No, we will look at that again, at where we're at. It's primarily north of there and cutting over to Comstock and then down to Kings. So it's more of it's a broad scope. We will be careful in what you're referring to.
So we won't be looking at right-of-way acquisition where the trailer park is?
There's an existing concept out there that shows a layout for that was already completed. So we will refer back to that.
Okay. And maybe I shouldn't have seconded the motion without a question to you, Mark, but are we okay with moving forward with that kind of an awareness with the folks that own that trailer park and the potential for HUD exposure?
It was, and just to clarify, that we had the Idaho Fair Housing Council, not HUD, that was critical of the city's handling of the utility issues at that location. My understanding is that the trailer park has not been there for 2 or 3 years. We're going to have to look at the impact of the project on fair and affordable housing, and we may be looking at alternatives that look at some frontage requirements there. Certainly nothing that would render it unusable for any current use, or certainly any fair housing use.
Okay, I was just concerned about the potential lawsuit. HUD would represent fair housing, the way that I understand it, but maybe not? Okay. I'm good.
Okay, any further questions?
Mayor, Jeff, I can remember a few years ago when this came before the council, and before I was on the council, and I do remember one specifically. There was a gentleman that came forward, and he was concerned about this type of project because he wasn't part of the trailer park. He had an old homestead, and it was going to take his house, and he was not going to get near the money he needed so he could relocate in today's economy. So I'm kind of concerned how all that works.
Okay, so this, The intersection that you're referring to is 39th. That's the trailer park that we're speaking about. That concept design has already been completed. So when I say we'll kind of refer back to that, we'll look at, again, where we stand there. But primarily, this scope is going to look at north of there, over to Comstock, down to Kings, Airport in here, and 39th in here. It's a pretty broad concept in that area because we're looking at potentially moving regional traffic in here at one point and up 39th to Garrity. So it's something we'll take another look at because eventually it is a concept design and it's on our impact list to expand 39th and Garrity, but we'll make sure that we are careful as we look into that. So.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Call for the vote?
Okay. No more discussion, correct? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Satterfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mayor.
Action item 5.7 is to authorize an all-way stop at Southside Boulevard and Locust Lane
I got questions
intersection.
on this one. Okay.
Thank you, Daniel.
No problem. So the city, last year, we had seen quite a few accidents at this location. Working with the Highway District, we made changes last year to include dropping the speed limit in that area from 50 miles an hour down to 35. We added some flashing beacons along the Locust stop signs to include those, and put in new warning placards about cross traffic not stopping. Since that time in August, when those improvements were done, we've seen an additional 11 crashes between now and then. And so those improvements have not helped mitigate the safety concerns at that intersection. And so working with our consultant, Joe Barton from Paragon, and city staff, streets and engineering, and then coordinating with the Nampa Highway District, the recommendation now is to put in a four-way stop. As you can see in our write-up on there, the current levels of service on Locust Lane are at an F and an E, and then obviously without any stop signs on Southside Boulevard, that's operating at a level of service A. With the proposed change, the Locust Lane level of service goes up to a B. The Southside level of service does reduce, but the four-way stop should mitigate the amount of and severity of the accidents that we see at that intersection. And so that is why we're requesting authorization to make this change.
So, Madam Mayor, Daniel, the 11 crashes since August of 2018, do you have any specifics on severity or what caused those crashes, if it was late at night or?
No, they've been all over the place, as I recall.
I mean, people pulling out of the, from Locust?
Mayor, Councilman, in talking to the police and looking at the crash data, the traffic coming towards the intersection to Southside tries to shoot the gap, and there's angle-related accidents as a result. It could be because at Powerline there's a four-way stop, and they assume it's a four-way stop when they move out into the intersection. That could be. Otherwise, the police are saying that it's just driver error as they approach and they enter into the intersection.
So have we, and I know it's fatalities, but I mean, of those 11 crashes, are we aware there's been any fatalities?
There hasn't been, as far as we know.
Okay. And Madam Mayor, I'm just going to speak here. I mean, I looked at this closely, and I mean, from the peak hours, which the morning hours from 6 to 9, and then 6 to 9. I mean, I should say 3 to 6 at night. There's over 1,000 more cars going north-south than there are going east-west. And boy, I know, there's just a lot of, I realize growth, it's happening, but to slow up traffic more, I don't want people killed, I want public safety. But man, I would be very frustrated if I was going north-south early in the morning or whatever and having to stop at stop signs constantly. So,
I speak for like the planning side of things. We're gonna be looking at it closely, tracking it closely, and then looking at obviously that an intersection improvement would be more efficient there and roundabout something.
I mean, there's a turn lane now, I know going off Logos, you can go right, right on the south side going north. And, yeah, and visibility, I've been out there, I looked at it. I mean, I don't see any visibility challenge. That's why I was wondering I think you hit it probably right, Jeff. I think they're probably used to those other four-way stops at those other intersections.
Yeah, for
and
consistency,
just not
say
paying
that
attention.
people, traffic sometimes is intuitive for people. We want it to be intuitive when they come to an
Okay.
intersection that
All
they.
right, thanks.
Mayor Kling. Jeff, I don't have a question for you, but I do have this. That's one of the major intersections in this county that I would not go through on my motorcycle. That's a bad intersection. So when I first read this, I went, yes, by all means. You just kind of gringe and close your eyes and hope nobody hits you. The speed limit was far too fast because it's getting residential now. Now it's 35. But approaching it is a difficult site, and I'm glad you're thinking about this. That's why we don't even go on this Southside Boulevard. That's one of the reasons why you never see motorcycles on it. Yeah, so thank you.
Mayor, City Council, we will be looking at long-term improvements as a result of what's going on right now.
Okay, so this is an action item. I would stand for a motion, one way or the other.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we authorize an all-way stop at Southside Boulevard and Locust Lane. Is there any additional discussion? Roll call.
Brunner,
No.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Okay, Tom, I'll let you get ready, or Daniel, whoever's presenting this one. The next one's an action item, and this is to authorize staff to proceed with the design of a new water tank facade.
So
And-
moved. I like it.
Architect likes it, it's good, right?
Okay, so I did hear a motion. Did I hear a second? It's been moved and seconded. I know you guys have all looked at your packet, so is there any discussion, or do you need to hear from Daniel?
Looks good.
That's good.
Okay, so I guess we're ready for roll call.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Action item 5.9 is to authorize the mayor to sign a cooperative agreement for project number A020, parentheses 315 at I-84 Karcher Interchange to Franklin Boulevard for the north side interchange water main replacement. This has been reviewed by legal.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
There was 2 seconds.
Which one do you want to go with? That side.
Randy's giving it to me.
Always the right.
Thumbs up.
Okay, so is that?
Yes, I
that was
seconded it.
Hogaboom on the
Yes,
second.
thank you.
Okay. So roll call.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
So the next 1, 2, 3, 4 items are the first reading of ordinances. And so this first item, 510 on the agenda, had to do with our public hearing number 1. This is an action item. This is the first reading for ordinance for vacation of the alley right-of-way in Block 179 of Kurtz Addition in Nampa between vacated East Georgia Street on the north and East Highway on the south in the northwest quarter of Section 34T, 3N, R2W within a limited multifamily residential zoning district in order to develop the site into a 70-unit senior affordable housing development. A sewer easement will be retained in the vacated alley for Sky Ridge Limited Partnership.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, vacating the 20-foot wide alley and right-of-way located in Block 179 of Kurtz Addition in Nampa, Idaho, more particularly described below, and directing the city engineer to alter the use and area map accordingly, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
This has been requested to pass under suspension of rules.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, Would you do me the courtesy of one thing, please? Because I noticed this earlier and I was kind of confused. And then as I was walking in here tonight, someone asked me, how can a public hearing be under an action item? And I was informed, because I had not seen that before either, but in case they're listening again, would you mind explaining that?
So actually, in visiting with legal counsel this morning, which was Aaron, he said that this is actually very common, and in Caldwell, they do it on a regular basis. It really has to do with the documents being prepared and ready to go. Most of the time, they're not prepared, ready to go, therefore we cannot act upon them. But when they are ready to go, it is normal and it is an acceptable practice is what, because I asked the same question, and thank you for bringing it up. So it's a good question. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I just wanted you to be able to explain it so that they could hear that. So thank
Yes.
you.
No, thank you for asking, because it's important for people to understand, because we haven't been traditionally doing this. And it's great, though, when the information's there and we can. So, perfect. And I think we're ready for roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Everfield?
Yes.
And the next one is the same, and this is from Public Hearing 6-2. And this is the first reading of ordinance for modification of the zoning development agreement between Moon Lake Consulting LLC and the City of Nampa, recorded on 11/6/2017 as instrument number 2001-048306, modifying the conceptual site and building plans to accommodate the senior apartment living on a single-story arrangement for a 2.978-acre portion of the northwest quarter of Section 34T3N R2WBM for Joe Pressure, representing Douglas Peterson, Sky Ridge LP.
An ordinance enacted by the Nampa City Council to modify the annexation and zoning development agreement to which that certain real property commonly known as 412 East Hawaii Avenue, Nampa, Idaho, comprising approximately 2.978 acres more or less, is subject described in ordinance number 4343 as approved on October 16, 2017, and recorded on November 6, 2017 as instrument number 2017-048306, records of Canyon County, Idaho, in connection with the development of said property to provide senior housing, directing the city planning director to alter the use and area map accordingly, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
And this also has been requested to pass under suspension of rules.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second from Councilman Hogaboam or Brunner? Excuse me, are there any questions or discussion? Roll call?
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Everfield?
Yes.
Item 512 on the agenda is an action item. It's the first reading of an ordinance repealing Title II, Chapters 3 and 4 of the Nampa City Code and enacting a new Chapter 4 pertaining to appointed officials and department and division heads, with a request to waive the three-reading rule and pass the ordinance on its first reading by title only, and to approve the summary for publication. So the information is in your packet on this particular item. I would like to just say that this particular, would you like to address it, and then I'll follow up if there's
Sure.
anything?
Thank you,
Okay.
Mayor. As council will recall, I think beginning shortly after she took office, the mayor did what she called a deep dive into various departments in the city. And what this ordinance is beginning to implement what may be a series of proposed reorganizations at the legislative level, particularly because it may deal with organizational structure even up to the appointed official and department head level. And so I worked with the mayor on this piece of legislation, and there's a couple things that we're trying to accomplish here. One is just a kind of a general cleanup. Existing city code had a separate chapter dealing with city attorney, and then a different chapter dealing with all of the rest of the appointed officials, which was a little unusual because the city attorney is by state code an appointed official position. And so I eliminated the provisions dealing specifically with city attorney and combined them in with the rest of the appointed officials. So a little bit of an organizational shift.
determining that certain lands commonly known as 2704 East Amity Avenue, comprising of approximately .46 acres, more or less, lay contiguous to the city limits of the city of Nampa, County of Canyon, State of Idaho, and that said land should be annexed into the city of Nampa as part of the RS zone, declaring said lands by proper legal description be described below to be part of the city of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, directing the city engineer and planning and zoning director to add said property to the official maps of the city of Nampa, Idaho, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith, providing for an effective date, and directing the clerk of the city of Nampa to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be annexed with the Canyon County, State of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code, Section 63215.
So move under suspension of rules.
I second that.
Discussion? Roll call.
Alderman,
Yes.
Levi? Yes. Haverfield?
Yes.
Dodd?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Turner?
Yes.
So that concludes our new business, Section 5. Section 6 was public hearing, which is concluded, and now for Section 7, which is unfinished business. We have one action item, and that is the first reading of an ordinance for zoning map amendment to community business, from community business to healthcare for the property located at 9870 West St. Luke's Drive, 9850 West St. Luke's Drive, and 9860 West St. Luke's Drive, at 0 Cherry Lane and 0 Cherry Lane. This is 5 parcels totaling 33.08 acres located in a portion of the northwest quarter of Section 9T3N R2WDM for the land group representing St. Luke's Regional Medical Center. Yes, public hearing was on 3/18, and there is a request to pass under suspension of rules.
So moved.
Second.
And she'll have to read it.
Oh.
An ordinance of the city of Nampa, Idaho, providing an HC zone designation for certain lands commonly known as 9850, 9860, and 9870 St. Luke's Drive, and to adjacent unaddressed parcels on Cherry Lane in Nampa, Idaho, comprising approximately 33.08 acres, more or less, determine that said zoning is in the best interest of the citizens and consistent with the comprehensive plan of the city of Nampa, Idaho, rezoning said property from BC to HC, providing for recording, instructing the city engineer to designate said property as HC on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and repealing all ordinances, rules, and regulations and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Remind me, who was the second? Was it, Randy, did you move?
I seconded.
Hogaboam seconded. Thank you. Roll call. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Turner?
Yes.
Levi? Yes. Dodd? Hogaboam?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Section 8 are pending ordinances that are postponed due to lack of supporting documentation. Section 9 are executive sessions. So I will stand for a motion, and we've got 3 different ones to go through. To adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061E to consider preliminary negotiations involving matters of trade or commerce in which the governing body is in competition with governing bodies in other states. It states there are 2 items. There's actually 1 item. Motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061A to consider hiring a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent wherein the respective qualities of individuals are to be evaluated in order to fill a particular vacancy or need. This paragraph does not apply to filling a vacancy in an elective office or deliberations about staffing needs in general. And thirdly, a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061B to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, individual agent, or public school student. I stand for a motion.
So move.
Second.
And roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Turner?
Yes.
Levi? Yes. Dodd? Haverfield?
Yes.
Hogaboam?
Yes.
And when we come back, I'm sure that most of you will not be here. And just a reminder, we do not make any decisions following an executive session, and we will adjourn at the conclusion. So staff, thank you very much for your presence.